Have your ad run on our live streaming episodes, linked in the video description and attached to our many hot take clips. The channel is fast growing with thousands of views and subscribers. Don't miss your chance to grow your business on one of the fastest growing platforms on YouTube. Join the family today. This might be risky. Email us at thismightberisky@gmail.com if interested. Hashtag Indeed, hashtag do the right thing. This Might Be Risky sponsorship package is here. Have your ad run on our live streaming episodes, linked in the video description and attached to our many hot take clips. The channel is fast growing with thousands of views and subscribers. Don't miss your chance to grow your business on one of the fastest growing platforms on YouTube. Join the family today. This might be risky. Email us at thismightberisky@gmail.com if interested. Hashtag Indeed, hashtag do the right thing. This Might Be sponsorship package is here. Have your ad run on our live streaming episodes, linked in the video description and attached to our many hot take clips. The channel is fast growing with thousands of views and subscribers. Don't miss your chance to grow your business on one of the fastest growing platforms on YouTube. Join the family today. This might be risky. Email us at thismightberisky@gmail.com if interested. Hashtag Indeed, hashtag do.
What up? Y'all hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, loud and clear.
I like it, man. Yeah, we're shaking. Good?
Yeah, man. I'm good.
Word. Big Sad, what up? There you go.
He's on mute.
Sad was good.
Yo, what's going on with you?
All right, you straight? I know how your shit be sometimes.
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm Gucci, man. I got 2 to choose from. We good to go.
All right. That's what's good. Chief, what up, though?
I'm cooling, baby. How you?
Good. Welcome. Shout out
No
to
doubt.
Chief.
Appreciate you.
Indeed. Russ was good.
What's good with you, family? Happy to be here.
Indeed. Everything all right?
Everything's great.
Hazel, what's shaking?
What's up? It's gonna be a good night tonight. I got a feeling.
Indeed. Hopefully one of the other fellas show up so I can put your ass in the back. But
I'm the star. Y'all need me for ratings. Y'all can hate on me.
oh, here she go. All right. Terrence, what's good?
What's good, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing the right thing, bro. How you?
I'm well.
Hey, Corey, just because you log in, nigga, if you're not in the chair, you're not here.
Hey, man, I had to go help a friend move a couch, bro. Being a good neighbor.
Nobody called you to help move anything.
Yes, they did. I got all the muscles. That's what they call me.
How many shirts you? How fucking cold is it? How many shirts you got on?
I was out. Hey, I had to go outside, bro.
Put him in the fucking bedroom. Get him out of here. Come on.
I got a sweatshirt and like an old, raggedy shirt that somebody designed. It's terrible.
Yeah, you look like a Marshall's mannequin.
Yeah, well, the shirt I got on, it feel like it came from Marshall.
Shout out to
It's a real piece of trash.
We almost won one turn.
Slavery shirt.
Mr. White was good.
Yo, what's good, y'all?
Everything's everything.
Everything is everything.
What you African?
Yeah, man. From the Punjabi tribe, yo.
No, hey, there's so many real tribes you couldn't name one. That is
a real Google Punjabi tribe, yo. It was one of the leading tribes that was lost in Africa in like 13 BC, yo.
Come through, historian.
That story sounds believable. That's what's up.
It sounds believable, right?
13 BC. Never mind. I'm not. Kenny was good.
What's poppin', son? What's good, everybody? Thanks for having me.
Fuck out of here. Good, man. Hey, man, it's good to be here. Let's see, son. I got how many people in the back? All right, boom. All right, man. Listen, man. So the reason how I got to this topic is I made a Facebook post at like 1:00 in the morning, right? And I said, this might be risky, but I'm gonna say it. Men should suffer in silence, right? So I wasn't thinking nothing of it. So it got 1 like, then 2 likes, but the likes stopped growing, but the comments got to almost 200 comments.
Jeez.
A lot of different takes and perspectives about should we suffer in silence, should we not, why, suicide. I mean, a bunch of topics and feelings and emotions stem from that one post. There was some arguments, there was some actual sound logic and reasoning. So I said, well, let's put it on the show. Let's put it on the air. Let's see what we can gain from this conversation. I mean, makes sense?
Yep.
So, let me share my screen real quick. All right. Make sure you guys let me know if you can hear it, you can see it. Good.
I see it.
Yep.
Yep.
A lot of parents are very, very surprised by this.
Oh, geez.
He's one of the best in his class. I'm like, oh, he's one of the best. So he's not even the best of a group of 30 random average losers. He's not top 1% in the world at anything. And you're so proud of him. And you're going to sit there and go, wow, great job, great job. And that's why he's never going to become shit. I mean, I smoke cigars, but I know what the fuck I'm doing. Give me a big fat cigar. I'm risking cancer to look like a mafia boss. Fine. I'm not sitting there smoking cigars and going, I can't believe this is bad for me. No, like these fucking vape bullshit children. And what kind of parent lets their 16-year-old vape anyway? If I had a 16-year-old son, he's like, I got a vape. Get the fuck out of here, vape. Do some push-ups.
Whoa.
Can't wait. I've never been to Australia, and I super duper really want to go. One day, when I save up enough money, it's the only reason I haven't been, I can't afford it. When I save up enough money, I really hope I can go to Australia and hang around a bunch of fours with ugly, annoying accents. Want to go to the beach, mate? No, you're a 4. No, sorry. Yes, please. Let's go to Bondi Beach 4. Let's go.
I love your broad shoulders.
Yeah, I love broad shoulders on a chick. And every once in a while you're on Instagram, you see some 10 from Sydney. You're like, Australian girls are hot, but it's an illusion. It's a Gaza. It's a lie. They're all 4s. But luckily, I love 4s. I want to go to Canada where all the 4s are, the snow 4s.
So, are y'all familiar with Andrew Tate?
I've heard of him.
Only recently have I heard about him.
Right.
Okay, so there was just a couple clips, right? You can see how he is, right? He talks about women. They think he's a misogynist. He's been canceled numerous times. He actually in the news now got arrested for what they deemed sex trafficking. He had a house full of women that did cam videos like OnlyFans and things of that nature. He also just recently I think he subscribes to Islam, so he has like 4 wives, I think. He said he's a top 1%er, has 32 cars. He teaches men how to be men. He had a summit in Romania. Men, it was like 20 guys paid $5,000 to go to try to understand how to get to the top and be in the top 1% and be an alpha male. So just some background. So the question I wanted to start with is there such a thing as toxic masculinity?
Indeed it is.
Such a thing as toxic masculinity. Now let it marinate a little bit. I know y'all just like to just blurt shit out, so you know. Corey.
I would say yes. I would say that most of the stuff that people associate with toxic masculinity isn't toxic masculinity, but I think at some point we can be so masculine, or the level of masculinity can be toxic, or some of the masculine things that we're preaching can be toxic. So I think it's possible to have toxic masculinity. Yes.
Give me an example, Corey.
Of what would qualify as toxic masculinity?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. That's a good one. I'm not even sure. I guess like anything that like produces like regular negative outcomes. In the form, yeah. if you know, if it's something that's gonna produce a negative outcome, it could be toxic masculinity. If it's you know what I'm saying, nigga?
You don't have an example, nigga?
No, nigga, because I don't do toxic masculinity, bro.
That's alarming to me, though, right? You said there is such a thing, but you can't name such thing. That's weird to me, especially coming from you. Yeah, mute. That's what you can do.
No,
Chief,
man, I ain't muting.
Yo. Yo.
Welcome back. Get him out of here. Come on.
My fault. Chief, what you think? Is there such a thing as toxic masculinity?
I definitely think so. I mean, just listening to home, like all of us on the screen right now is listening to homie talking, frowning, like, what is money doing? Like, just it's attitude, it's behavior that's stereotypical of that's negatively impacts men, as in men we are trying to raise, or men who are looking for leadership, or whatever, however you want to look at it. But homie's like, just how he's on the island talking about, yeah, I'll go to the beach. You're a 4. Like, homie, she's a 10 to me. She might be a 4 to you. You know what I'm saying? And that, like, the way he makes it seem is like, and just listening to him for those couple of clips, is like everybody's supposed to agree with what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that in general is toxic. And we're talking about this shorty smoking a vape pen. Like, okay, teach your shorty something. You're gonna slap the vape out the pen and make him do some push-ups. You're gonna get with his homies and still smoke another vape. You dig what I'm saying?
So, what about the first example?
I don't really remember what the first one was. The first one was that.
The first one was
that was him smoking a cigar. Talking about, I know what I'm doing to my body. Blah 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 blah.
No, the one, it was like your kid is one of the best, one of the top in their class. But if the class is full of mediocrity, why are we praising it? I think it was more attacking this norm now where everybody gets a trophy.
Okay, but I don't think that has anything to do with representation of toxic masculinity, though.
Okay, so you're saying that not praising kids for mediocrity is just everybody should not do that, or do you think that's more of a masculine thing?
I mean, I'm all for positive reinforcement, but we still have to strive to be the absolute best. And if you were best in the class of mediocrity, then it's time to level up and get to a new class and keep chasing. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so you think the beach of all 4 stating that as a fact was toxic?
I mean, again, that's opinion, though. You know what I'm saying? But the way he labeled it was like, it was very impressionistic, if you will. Like the way he was saying is like, you suppose, like his homies over there feeding his ego, like, yeah, 4 broad shoulders. Like every chick in Australia is a 4 with broad shoulders. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you're saying that we all couldn't recognize a 4? You think looks are that subjective?
I think looks are that subjective. We could all look at. I can look at a woman and see a 10, and you see a 2.
That's extreme, Pete.
Is it?
That's a 10 and a 2 though.
Okay, so we going strictly off of looks because there's clearly levels to that shit too.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Just basic looks.
Do you? Well, what I'm saying is, do you think you would see a 10? I could see an 8. But do you think it's gonna go all the way? You could see a 10 and I could see a 2.
That's level of attraction, bro. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, let's put it like this. There's white dudes who don't like black women. You bring the beautiful dark-skinned woman around, and he's not attracted at all.
The good
you know what I'm
thing
saying? Or vice versa. Black people who don't like white women. She come around, she a dime in their crew, but to us, like, get that regular chick out of here.
Well, the good thing is the people of the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, Russia don't matter in this conversation. So
I use that to help validate the point, though.
No,
You know
I got you. But good thing they don't have no taste. You could use taste the food. All right, Adrian. Is there such a thing as toxic masculinity?
No, there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's nothing about masculinity that's toxic at all. And what people do is we just come up with our own. That's why Corey couldn't define it. You know what I'm saying? We just make stuff up, put stuff together because it's a buzzword. You know what I'm saying? But there's nothing toxic about masculinity and what it's supposed to be. Now, what people are calling toxic masculinity is something different, right? So they may be controlling, right? They may be a bunch of other things, but masculinity in itself is not toxic.
So you wouldn't define money's behavior as toxic? The videos we just watched?
Some of it is, but I wouldn't define it as masculine either. You see what I'm saying?
I see where you're going with that. Okay.
You done, eh?
Yeah, I'm done. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I'm waiting for Asian for later. You know what I'm saying? I'm waiting for Otis.
Anybody got a response to that? One of the fellas?
To toxic masculinity?
That or what Adrian said?
Yeah, definitely. Bro.
Hold on, let me unmute for this.
Yeah, go ahead, unmute that mic, bro.
Okay.
Look, you're off the track with this one, okay, bro. I'm gonna give you an example of toxic masculinity and why it does exist. Toxic masculinity is basically teaching boys and men that they can't express their emotions openly, that they have to be tough all the time. And the moment they do, they're soft, they're feminine, they're weak. That's toxic. That's one example of toxic masculinity.
Right, but again, that's just like saying I could just make up a definition and just call it anything. What that sounds like is somebody who lacks wisdom, who lacks understanding. You see what I'm saying? That's not, and masculine means you're assertive, right? Like that's leadership. That takes wisdom, right? That takes strategy. That's what masculine is.
Masculine means that you're assertive.
Yeah, part of being masculine is assertiveness.
Wait, so as an assertive female, that's masculine. So when I'm assertive, am I being masculine when I'm being assertive, in your opinion?
Yeah, it is more of a masculine trait. Being masculine, there's nothing wrong with a woman being masculine too, right? Like you need a balance of both. But you shouldn't be majority assertive in every single thing you do.
Of course not. There's a proper balance to everything.
But you definitely need a piece in being able to move in and out of it, just like a man needs to be able to move in and out of his feminine energy as well too. There's a time and place for it.
But when are black men taught to even tap into femininity? When?
You said what?
When in time is black men taught to even tap into a 1% of their feminine, because you have both within, but you push one down and raise the other one up, like you're not imbalanced. So when because I don't hear it. So I'm asking you, when, as far as black men, when are they taught that they can, hey, you can even just use 1% of the femininity, the feminine energy that resides within you?
Okay, so first you switched into another question, so that means I won the first one about the toxic masculinity, right? So now,
look, don't do no ghetto debate style shit.
But
this is we're not doing no ghetto debate. This is real talk because
right,
there are
right,
men
right.
out here who need to hear this, and
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure there's men in you guys' circles that need to hear this because it's not discussed. It's discussed in a laughable manner, and the toxic masculinity is the reason why niggas is out here killing 4,000 a year.
I don't think that's
it's part of the reason, because the toxic masculinity in you is to the point where, hey, you can't even apologize if you bump into the dude in the club. You can't even apologize to the dude that you walking past in the store. Look, I was just outside, right? And it was actually a woman. But
quick story though, because your story be long as shit.
A dude bumped into a woman. Respect the story though. A dude bumped into a woman.
Hurry it up.
And she got upset because of a bump. Niggas are dying over like stepping on shoestrings.
Wait.
But that sounds more like respect, not masculinity. Like
because you have to understand what. Okay, number one, there are no real elders who teach black men how to be black men and how to be masculine on a healthy level. I've had uncles and cousins, and the elders, what they teach you about manhood and masculinity is more so about how rough you are, basically.
So, all right, Kenny, let me ask you. Is it toxic to be tough?
No, because it's needed at some times.
Is it toxic not to cry from physical pain?
No, because that's a human emotion.
Is it toxic to be stoic?
What does stoic mean?
So, like, let's say things are happening around you that could be detrimental. Like, my son was just born, and it was the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, nigga got stuck, the nigga died on the table and all that. He back now, the nigga right here. But there's a lot of shit that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I stayed here, right?
Stayed here, what?
Like how I am now, right? I was able to talk, have conversations, right? Not overreact, right? Even though inside that shit was bubbling, right? I wanted to wring that doctor's neck because it was a stupid decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as a man, if I don't stay even, right, how's my wife gonna react? How's the family gonna react? So on and so forth. So that was me being stoic in that instance, just to give an example.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with what black men are taught, though. What you're saying is that is it okay for a black man to cry? Well, from a little kid, you're taught stop crying. That's that girl stuff. Don't cry. You are popped in the mouth for crying. I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's not cool to cry in the black community as a man. Mm-hmm. And the newer generation of women, they're like, I've been seeing a new generation of women are saying that it's unattractive to see their man cry. Whereas the older generation is like, oh my gosh, that is so heartwarming to see a man cry. You know what I'm saying? So we are taught from kids that it's not cool to cry.
Yeah,
which is a human emotion.
And you deem that toxic? I just wanted to get some clarity.
That's very much toxic because you're pushing down a human. This is like human, like forget male and female. Like you're a human being.
Well, my point was also I said physical pain, so I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, if you're hurt, cry, nigga.
Okay. So, are you saying that black men are not human? Because if we cry, that doesn't, make sense because we're human, but yet we're supposed, we are deemed to be tough. And it's like, I kind of agree with Adrian because, you got to think about it. We come from a survival of the fittest mentality. And I think that's what dude was trying to say in short, that, hey, it's survival of the fittest. It's eat or be eaten.
And you don't see that as a problem?
No, because
we're not fucking animals. What are you talking about? We're not lions. Stop it.
But in reality, as a man, that's just what it is. Like it's no, you can't ignore that. Like if you raised in the hood or not, it's either. I don't care if you're in the hood or you're in the suburbs. It's either great or you're not going to be the greatest. One of the two. You can't ignore that. It's no matter where you go. It's competition everywhere. I don't give a fuck.
Being great and what we're talking about is two different things.
How's it different?
Greatness have nothing to do with.
I mean, it's levels.
But it's still falling in the same category as, like you said, eat or be eaten, right?
Yeah, but the problem is that you shouldn't be in a society where niggas is eating everybody. That's the problem.
Then what you gonna do? Sit there and suffer?
Cry about
the problem. You fix the problem.
Okay, then you fix. Okay, then if you're gonna fix the problem, that means okay, I got a problem. I'm number 2, but the problem is I want to be number 1. So what you gonna do about it? You gonna sit there and cry, or you gonna do something to make change?
Right.
And if you got to make change, in some instances, somebody may have to get hurt, or somebody is going to lose.
What the hell are you talking about, nigga? What the hell are you talking about? I'm looking around to see what you're talking about because I can't.
All right, well, let's not convolute the convo. Go ahead, Russell.
I think what needs to be mentioned is that there's nothing wrong with being number 2. You don't have to be number 1 in everything. You may want to, you may strive for that, but it's not the end of the world if you are number 2. It's not the end of the world if you're not number 1%. And I think it would be, you're if you do want to call it toxic, I don't know how I feel about the word yet, but if you do want to call it toxic, saying that you have to be number 1 at everything, that's not a healthy mindset. So I would consider that to be, straddling the line of toxic. That if I'm going to do this, I'm not saying you can't be successful and strive for greatness, but you got to be realistic as well. So
that's basically saying that everybody's entrepreneurs.
Hold on, Kenny.
Everybody can't be there.
Everybody can't. This was the customers.
But Russ, are you saying be okay being number 2 and don't go for number 1, or you should still strive for number 1?
You can strive for number 1, but I shouldn't end my world if I ended up at number 2.
But do you need to? Are you saying should you be affected by being number 2?
No.
Depends on what it is. You know what I mean? But it's let's just call it professional. If you want to be number 1 in your field, strive for that to be the best you can in your field. But someone's going to be better. Someone's going to be better. There's literally only one number 1 in everything. There's only one number 1. So, and it's what, billions of niggas?
Right.
So I'm just saying it's not realistic.
The question becomes, is you going to cry about it, though?
That is kind of, but you see, the thing is, what Terrence is saying, that is kind of the question, though. Yeah, are you going to cry about it if you number 2?
We are totally moving the goalposts. We were talking about, we went from folks being sad about your child. Now we're talking about number 1 and number 2. Like, niggas keep moving the goalposts.
I think they're all essences of masculinity, but I think what I was trying to listen to my man, Mr. White, was I think it was a good delineation between toxic and then trying to define masculinity too. Like, he just doesn't apply the word toxic when it comes to masculinity. But we talked about various levels of manhood per se, in terms of, different things like that. But I think, so my man Terrence, if me and my man Mr. White go through the same thing, we experience the same, can't refer to physical pain. He goes through and he doesn't cry, and I cry. What's the separation between the two of us? What's the difference? Does that make me less of a man because I expressed my pain and he didn't? Does that make him more of a man because he held his pain and I didn't?
Yeah.
I think that by you crying, I think that it's fine, but society wise, for you to cry because of being number 2, people are going to call you soft. Other men in your community are going to call you soft and weak and pussy willows. That's what they're going to call you.
That's toxic masculinity.
And you would define that. Okay, and I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that though. What happened?
Chief, stay there though. Stay there, right?
Okay.
Because I like the question. So if I was answering, yes, he's more manly than you if you ball out crying because you broke your finger or thumb or some shit like that.
Okay, so let me just put a parallel on the situation. No disrespect, Mr. White. So now we both.
I want to let said respond. Go ahead, Pete. Go ahead, Chief.
No. So we both had a similar physical pain attached to us, right? I cry. He don't. Right? You just gave him the one up because he didn't cry, right?
Yeah.
We fight 10 minutes later. I beat his ass. What happens now?
It's back.
No, I'm just saying. The levels of masculinity change now because I cried and I still whipped his ass. Like, am I now more of a man because I cried and beat his ass?
Yeah.
Or is he less of a man because he didn't cry and got beat up?
If he take that ass whooping from not crying, he should have cried.
and you don't think that's toxic? And you don't think that's toxic? A toxic way to look at it?
Nah.
I beat your ass.
You know what I'm saying? What do you think?
Yo, check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Well, at the end of the day, ain't no such thing as no fucking toxic masculinity.
Nigga can't even say it. Somebody ain't no such thing. You can't even pronounce it.
Listen, you right. I can't pronounce it because I don't give a fuck about it. That's just like black on black crime. That shit is non-existent. And yeah, I'm choppy.
Break it down. We can hear you fine. Man,
but it's choppy on my end. That's why it's on my end. It sounded choppy. That's all it is.
Obama internet
delayed. All right. Says, see if you can get that right. Corn.
Yeah,
but
it's delayed like shit over here. Hold on.
Yeah. Said standpoint is there no such thing as toxic masculinity. He said his comparison was that just like how they socialize black on black crime, he might be saying it's proximity murder as opposed to like black on black crime. So it's like proximity crime. You do crime where you live at, as opposed to just black people always doing other things to black people. Maybe that was the point he was trying to make, but his internet fucking sucks. So, Corn, what you think?
What's going on? I just got my stuff together. I'm just getting in the conversation, so I don't know where we at.
So the question that's scrolling. Chief just came up with an example of if he gets hurt and cries, and then Terrence gets the same hurt and doesn't cry, is Terrence more manly? So I said yes, Terrence is. Then Chief said, now if me and Terrence get in a fight and I beat his ass, is he still more manly? And then I said no. So is there such thing as toxic masculinity?
Yeah, I definitely would say there is a such thing as toxic masculinity. From a standpoint of just like you said, I think especially on society nowadays, I think we have a thing where there's certain stereotypes that a man should be in, role man should be in. There's a stereotype women should be in. A man should fit this particular, especially in, I would hate to say, even going from black and white, right? Even from black culture, I feel like is even different from when it comes to dealing with masculinity than white culture. A white culture, you can get away with a lot more stuff than we can in black culture, right? And so it can be, I've heard people say, well, oh, you eat a hot dog, so you gay. Like, it can be just just the weirdest stuff. And you're not as manly as this whatever person is because you don't fit whatever criteria that they see. And a lot of it too has to do with, I think a lot of, I hate to say it, I was about to say black women, honestly. I think they put that on us too a little bit too. Like we can't fit into who we are, we want to be because, they have this stereotype from their grandfather or their father or whatever. And the role of a man has changed from I would even say the 80s to even from the 90s to now. A man's role is not as the same way it was back then. So I think there's this, and like I said, other races as well. I don't say races, but I would say other like I said, our fellow black women or whatever. They can put that on us. I mean, we put that on ourselves, but I feel like they can put that on us as well.
So let me get this. Let me ask you a question. You take very large bites of hot dogs?
That's the only thing that you got out of what I just said. All right.
Nah, that's the toxic part because niggas gonna focus on
here's why I asked that question. And niggas laugh because we could say this shit, we could nod, but niggas ain't taking a big ass bite of a hot dog. I don't give a fuck. And if we're saying that that's toxic,
yeah,
like,
we are.
are we saying that that's like
Yeah, that's toxic.
you could be too
What's
mad.
so? Wait. We just wrote so I'm clear. What's toxic? Taking the bite of the hot dog, or you judging me for taking a bite of a hot dog?
Him judging is the
Judging.
Judging, I
Him
think.
watching
Okay.
the hot dog is toxic.
Nigga want you to sit there and
I don't
nibble
know.
on the hot dog.
I don't know. I don't know if it's. I don't know if I would define that as toxic. It may make some It may make some men who might have a little homophobia uncomfortable. But I don't think I'm not looking at another man eating a hot dog and being like, "Oh, my stomach!" Like that's just not
like,
that's
you
just
don't
not where
think
my
about
mind goes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. If you think about it, why is he picturing a penis as opposed to a hot dog, right?
Right,
When
and that's how I look at it.
But still, no, it was just when he made that example though, because we all have that thought and we all make that joke.
Well, I ain't think about it. Somebody else was saying something about it, so that's what made me
never
think
made that
about it.
I've heard it before though. But
Yeah.
Hamp, you live upstate. Like we live in New York. It's like hot dogs everywhere. You see people eating hot dogs all the time, and they like gobble, 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 gobble. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're eating it. It's food.
I know, but the gobbles, you ain't had
Yeah, the gobble. Okay, I'm being extra. Okay, I'm being extra. But they do eat it. Like they ain't like taking. They ain't like taking a little, little chipmunk bite,
Yeah.
Yeah, but even think about social media, for instance, right? Like I can go on like Shade Room, or I can go on like Spiritual World, some of these bigger social media platforms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And say they put a clip on there of a man. I promise you, depending on what he's doing or how he moves, whatever, they gonna throw the gay label on him, all off rip, right? And he may not even be gay or nothing at all, right? But they will throw that label on him because he may be emotional, or he may be, I don't know, he may go off on a woman, and it could be any little thing. And they like, oh,
the way he's
kind of gay.
stand.
Yeah, he giving gay vibes, whatever. You know what I mean?
All right, so let me ask a question real quick. So, yes or no, right? So, Kenny, there is such a thing as a toxic masculinity?
Yeah.
Same question, Adrian.
Nah, there's no such thing.
Corey?
Yes.
E?
Yes.
Terrence?
Yeah.
Russ?
Yes.
Chief?
Yes.
P?
Yeah.
There is such a thing?
Yeah, there is to a certain point.
6. Corn?
You already said yeah.
Watch. Hey, Playboy. You don't make me off with me, nigga. Sad?
Absolutely not.
Interesting. As I'm assessing it, it's just like men being men, how we used to be men, I feel like is considered toxic in this day and age. And I just don't see our culture overall doing better. I see us doing worse. Families, crime, where we are on the totem pole. The nuclear family is almost lost. We accept everything in our culture. So if those things are toxic, I can understand why somebody could say that, but I just don't see us improving.
Hey, so Hamp, you asked Corey to define or give an example of toxic masculinity.
Yes,
you just referenced men from our past.
Mm-hmm.
And could you, like, I'm just curious to know, what were they doing then that is so not acceptable now that would be defined as toxic? Like, give that example.
Yeah, so the men of yesteryear, like the things I was naming as I was going through when I was when I gave the example of my son, like with that happened. So like being stoic, being tough, being strong, working yourself to the bone, right? All dad needed is a beer in the truck, right? Nobody never checked on dad. Dad probably died earlier too, but that was his role and responsibility. So when we had that and we were functioning in that, I don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent, but we seem to be doing better as a people. Families, things of that nature. And I know people will cite the color purple narrative, right? People will go say, well, if you see the color purple, they act as though everybody was going through that. But that's not proven. It's purely speculative. And those families did stay together, regardless if the woman was looking past something or whatever the case was. The fact was the family was still the family back then.
Why were the women staying, Hamp?
I think you're going to say because they weren't working, so they needed the provisions, right? But now women work, so now they have more options. That is the what people say back. I'm just telling
I wasn't
Chief.
gonna say that. You can't read my mind. You're not Miss Cleo.
That's what you should have been saying. So what Chief? But when I'm talking to Chief, I'm just telling him how it was back then, so on and so forth. So those are the traits.
Okay.
Or
Even a baby disagree. Even a baby disagree.
Baby was saying, yeah, like that.
So Hamp, you were saying that we're better now, or you saying we were better then?
We were better then.
Okay, you say we're better then because the family stayed together.
Families, but even us being in poverty in the same rates, us leaning on the government, right? Us not having crack and gangster rap and all that. We didn't have all that. If you look at the pictures of men in the past, there was no sagging pants. Even our how we were perceived was different. So I'm just leaning on that. That's all. You know?
I disagree.
Hey, Corey, you ain't been able to think all night, baby boy.
Nah, man, I've been trying to give, it's a large panel. I want to give everybody an opportunity to speak, man. I ain't want to hog the
Nah, go ahead, Corey. You was the first one to talk, so it's time now.
So, I'm gonna give Corey the final thought on this one, and then I'm gonna jump to this next topic because I do want to get some ladies up here. Go ahead.
I would just say some of the once Adrian started describing what it is to be a man, then I realized more what the toxic masculinity is. Like, we don't like who's to define what masculine being a man is. Like some of those things that he labeled like being a man, like that in and of itself is toxic. Like you don't have to be tough to be a man. You don't have to do any of this stuff to be a man, right? So, but when you push that on people, like that can be toxic. So that's my final thought.
I didn't say that though. Hemp said that. I said assertive and like leadership and stuff like that.
Yeah, leadership, even leadership, right? You don't have to be a man. Don't have to be a leader.
Absolutely, you have to be a leader. As a man. Absolutely.
Lead what? Why?
What do you mean?
Why do you have to be a leader?
Why not?
You got to be the head of your household to start. Number one, you got to be the head of your household. You got to lead your household. You got to lead your family.
Just because you got a penis don't mean you best suited to lead.
I didn't say you have to be best suited, but you should be a leader in conduct and how you conduct yourself just as a man. It doesn't mean people got to follow you, but you lead in how you treat people. You lead in your presence. You protect people. Like, so you don't think as a man you should be a leader? That's part of manhood.
I'm saying your wife might be better suited for leader than you are, and then she.
No.
I have a one leader
question. Are you saying that as a man you don't need to be a leader?
You don't have to be. No. That's not inherently. There's plenty of men that
put him in the bathroom.
Come on. I don't know about that one. That part ain't gonna go that far.
It sounds good, but there's plenty of men that's not leading anyone. Like,
but here's right. But to be a leader, it's so many different ways you can do that. You know what I'm saying? You can lead by example, how you move, how you control your emotions, how you provide for yourself, how you show up in the community. There's so many different ways to lead.
You just want to stick the leader label on any action you do, basically. But all right, I guess you're a leader.
That's what it is.
Nigga, like I took out the trash. I'm a leader. I don't know. So
leadership is. Right? You cool with that?
What'd you say, Russ?
You can be a leader of one. So just as long as you lead, no one's following you.
Right.
So like you just gave an example. You are, leading by example. You are taking care of yourself. So it doesn't matter if no one's, viewing it or anything. I hear leader, I automatically go to, it's got to be followers as well. But
exactly,
you saying you could be a leader of one, and if that's the case, then I do agree with you. Then every man should be a leader. Then if that's the case,
I guess. I don't think you could be a leader without followers, but that's my perspective.
Interesting, man. Do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. If you are watching, we appreciate y'all. We got super chat, super likes, but you could just hit the like button. That helps the channel the most. All right, I don't have no video for this one because I do not want to show a bias or be biased or mold somebody's thoughts. I want this to be organic. All right. So, question of the day: should men suffer in silence? Should men suffer in silence? P, what you think?
Nah, not really. I mean, it depends on the situation. Like as a man, providing for a household of your family, you're not gonna put that burden on your wife like, yo, listen, this is what I gotta do. I need some bills. I hope not. You know what I'm saying? As a man, you're gonna find a way. You know, I mean, do I think we should have some type of counseling, I guess a place we can like talk about it? Yeah, counseling, but suffering in silence, and man, it's sketchy. It's not really, man. Not really. Like I said, you're not gonna put that burden like for you. If you like struggling on some bills, you're not gonna put it on your wife. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna shut the fuck up and just be like, you're gonna figure it out as a man. As you're supposed to. But no counseling, man. Counseling. I just say counseling.
But in terms of that stress, right? Because finances are, you know, important. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's one of the leading reasons why people get divorced
and depressed.
Yep. So P, in saying that though, that's a hard thing. You're gonna be thinking about that, how to pay them bills, but you're not gonna let her know, right? So would that be suffering in silence, and should that be warranted? Is that warranted?
As a man, yeah. I mean, let me speak for myself, okay? Because I can't speak for every man, because every man has a different had a different experience. Me, I'm gonna find a way. Like it ain't no. I'm not putting that burden, bro. I'm gonna go get it by any means. You know what I'm saying? That's just and it made a way. I make a way, regardless of what the fact. I make a way. So I'm gonna put it on my wife.
I'm just at it's a burden to ask your partner to participate in moments where you're not able to fulfill like your end of the bargain.
That's you can. I mean, like I said, every man different. Every man built different around here. If you want to ask. Me, personally,
I'm going to ask. Yeah, I'm going to ask. Yeah, I don't have no.
So hold on. So Corey, so basically you're saying you got a wife at home with kids and shit falls short. You would say, hey, honey, I need you to go out and get in that Uber and go out there, get in that fucking DoorDash and do it herself, or you gonna fucking do it? What are we talking about here? As a man, you gonna go out there and do it. You're not gonna ask her, hey, baby, but I mean, if she has the means, sure. But if it has to go between you and her, you're going to do it. Well, that's what he's talking about. That's it. That's all. I don't know. Y'all reaching for all this extra shit. Y'all need to cut it out.
So in a scenario said talking about, well, one of us got to get up and go do some extra. Then that's what they talking about as the leader, as the man. In my instance, I'm not gonna say wife go do that. I'm like, P, I'm gonna go out and get it by any means necessary. That's it. That's all. I'm not going to expect my wife. Now, if my wife is making 100,000, 200,000, and I'm making 50,000, shit falls short, I'll be like, hey, baby, woo. That's a different circumstance. But if we both making $50,000, whatever, bills need to be paid, I'm going to go do what I got to do extra to get that money. Period, point blank. I'm not going to sit here, hey, baby, I need you to, I don't know, maybe you want to do OnlyFans. What are you talking about? Wait. Maybe your wife got some skills where she could pick up a second job easier than you.
Well, listen, Corey, like I respect what you're saying, but as a man, bro, like said, bro, you're gonna find that way, bro. It ain't gonna be no like, cause for one, she's already a mother. You know what I'm saying? That's already a full-time job. You see what I'm saying? So let's keep that in mind. As
being a father, a full-time job.
It is, but again, a mother is all man, bro. I'm not taking nothing from us fathers or not, but again, bro, like we go out.
We can't compare it to what a mother goes through with that kid. Period. There's no comparison.
So I'm gonna find a way, bro. Again, we all built different, so I can't speak on what you may feel, but I know what I'm gonna do.
Question.
That dollar at the table, you know what I'm saying?
So P, if Corey sent his wife to DoorDash and get the extra dollar, who's more masculine?
Me.
Right.
Hey. So I ain't in the masculinity pissing contest, man. I ain't trying to get some masculinity trophy. Y'all got it.
No, it's cool. No, Corey, listen, it's cool. Again, him. Everybody built different, bro. I can't speak for the next man. I'm always speak for what I stand on and what I know. Because me speaking for him, I don't know this man's situation. So how can I say he ain't masculine or he is masculine or he ain't a man? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like what that man got going on, it is what it is. But I know for me,
don't get it twisted though. I still get to the bag,
regardless of the fact.
Oh,
what's going on?
I provide this shit. You know, I'm the reason why she's in the bag. Guess what? She's in nursing school, but guess who take care of that? You see what I'm saying?
I know that's real.
Like that. Shit like that. That's, bro. But I'm not here to brag. I'm just keeping it real as a man. What I'm gonna do for my wife.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with telling the truth.
That's right.
Mr. White, should men suffer in silence?
Nah, they shouldn't, but it should only be limited spaces. Like perfect world, yeah, we should be able to be vulnerable, but that's not what it is, right? So I don't think men need to be real careful about who they are open with, because the majority of people don't know how to handle it. The majority of relationships, your wife don't know how to deal with that, with you being vulnerable and stuff like that. The world, as y'all see how we are judged, they don't know how to deal with that. So you trying to be vulnerable in a lot of these situations could cause more harm than good. And a lot of times it does. I do a lot of couples counseling, and women be, dang, why he don't talk to me? Because when he talk to you, you use it against him all the time. Or women slowly start losing respect for their men when they see them crying or when they see them not showing up. So perfect world, yeah, you would love to have somebody who you can do it with, that you're in a relationship with or whatever, but I don't recommend that to a lot of people. Get you a professional. If not, you need other men that you can talk to about the things that you are going through. You know what I'm saying? That will validate you, that will understand, but they still gonna push you to keep going forward. Once you get to a stable enough place, then maybe you can start trying to take that out to other people. But you got to be careful. And I'm saying this because I see it from experience. I think when men are trying to open up, they do it to people who don't know how to handle it. And as a result, they end up shutting down forever.
That's good. Solid. That was good. I like that.
Hell yeah.
Solid. That's solid. We can actually use that. Russ, what you think?
Should men suffer in silence? No, they should not. But do we? Most times we do. Regardless of the situation, if you're suffering from health reasons, you're doing it by yourself. You know, you bring up something as simple as recent as Chadwick Boseman. You know what I mean? He had a small circle suffering in front of all of our eyes. You know what I mean? Going through health stuff. You do that in silence. You just brought the financial example, how, you know, you would try to handle it yourself before you even presented the scenario to your significant other. That's suffering in silence. So men do it all the time. I don't necessarily agree with it, but we do it all the time. We're conditioned to do it. And it is the mindset of how you raised, you know, and like Mr. White just said, men can be very, very delicate, but it's frowned upon and you get clowned for that shit. So you can't do it. And like you said, people don't know how to handle it. You open up once and then it's a wrap. Like you say, people lose respect for you, or people act like, you know, they assume I'm suffering right now, that I'm just suffering for my duration all the time. And I'm not living, you know, in pain per se, but I opened up once because I felt comfortable with somebody, and now the whole relationship, the dynamic of our relationship is different. So again, that was long-winded. Should men suffer in silence? No, but do they? All the time.
But Russ, it sounds like you justified a bunch of reasons why we should.
Because the desired results haven't been met or haven't been on display. So you know, if there was a scenario where, you know, I could open up and I guess, you know, let's say cry, for example, if that was, you know, if that gave me the desired results, I'd probably do it more. But I can't remember the last time I cried, but I imagine it was met with, what the fuck you crying for? Or what those tears gonna do for you? Because that's how my household was. That's how we were brought up in my household. The tears changing your scenario.
Exactly.
While we wasting our time crying.
Word.
So, you know, so it's just like, you're right. Why am I wasting my time crying? If that's what's drilled in me. So I'm sorry, Ken. I know that's irking. I can see it's irking you, Ken. My fault.
It really is. I understand though. I'm not judging. I don't.
Yeah. So I mean, I work with kids now. I work with, you know, the little ones. We do the after school stuff, and we try to, you know, to make sure all the children can tap into emotions, at least recognize them, let them know that it's okay to deal with them however you need to deal with them. But it's tough. You know what I'm saying? It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, word. T, what you think?
I agree with Mr. White. Should we suffer in silence? We shouldn't, but we have, you are kind of forced to. Because when you think about, the biggest thing I took from what Mr. White was saying was about the vulnerability. And, all of us, that have a significant, there's one of the things that, I would think that most of us would look for in a significant is having the ability to be vulnerable with them. And if you can't be, and sometimes when you choose to be vulnerable, it can turn around and it will, the woman will use it as a weapon. And when they use it as a weapon, all hell has broken loose because, sometimes that significant may question your manhood or question something about you, all because you have chosen to be, or you've chosen her to be vulnerable with, and then they'll use it against you. The minute that, y'all get into an argument, then she's going to, draw back in her memory banks, well, you sorry, blah, 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 motherfucker, this, and label you all this other stuff that, may be true, may not be true, but she's going to use it because you chose to be vulnerable. We do need more spaces where we can talk to people. Just between all of us brothers, just sitting here talking can be therapeutic or get some things out that, you can't do necessarily in front of, your wife or somebody else. Those of us that have fathers that are still alive and, they, boy, I didn't raise you to be this way, blah, 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 blah. Nah. But we have to find a medium to get that shit out. That's the biggest thing.
Okay. Chief, what's your thoughts?
So, I'm listening and I'm taking all this shit in, and what I'm about to do is bring this whole shit full circle right now. To answer your question, no, men should not suffer in silence. To Terrence's point, this right here could be a safe space for all of us to get some shit off our chest.
Yeah.
However, a key word Terrence mentioned was vulnerability. Vulnerability is like the igniter for toxic masculinity. And I say that because right now, if we have a conversation, all of a sudden I'm just like, and I start crying. I'm gonna get some empathy from a couple brothers. Y'all gonna hear me out, throw some gems at me, but I guarantee when we offline or something, soft ass nigga. Somebody got that for me. You know what I'm saying? Somebody got that for me. You dig what I'm saying? And so to Mr. White's point, like we have to. I'm a firm advocate, like of the exposition of vulnerability, like firm. I stand firm in that shit, and I have no problem communicating with people I trust. Oftentimes, is we are afraid to communicate with people, even some of our closest homies, because they're too wrapped up in that toxic masculinity that was instilled in us from our childhoods. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't cry, nigga, buckle up, knuck up, all that shit. So we still carry that long into our adulthoods, and until we're old enough until we're mature enough to sit back and go, yo, that shit is toxic. Like, holding on to that shit is not healthy for me. And if I can't talk to my homie, I can't talk to my lady, then I recommend we look into a therapist, somebody completely outside of our circle that we can at least get this shit off our chest, because all of us know somebody who needed to say something who ain't here no more, somebody who needed to say something who's locked up, somebody who got hella holes in the walls at the crib because they can't find another way to get their shit off their chest, so they punching holes in the wall, beating on their ladies or whatever, because we are convinced that we have to suffer in silence, and that shit is not okay, because none of us, I don't care who your people are, if they tell you they've suffered in silence and they're in a good spot right now, they're holding on to some shit that they need to get out. And they may be too afraid to talk to you, can't talk to the lady, therapist ain't for black men, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But we suffering in silence ain't done none of us no good, ever.
That was substantive. Corn, what you think?
I don't have too much to add from what they said, but like I said, you know, I same way. I don't feel like we should suffer in silence. And brother, if you did cry, I would pray for you. I would not laugh at you. Just like you know.
No, I'm saying right now, you know, I mean, most y'all ain't gonna laugh in my face, but afterwards, like,
I wouldn't laugh
crying,
behind your
you know
back
what I mean?
either. I'd be like, you know
This
what, he was
nigga crying in a room full of strangers.
Yeah, I'd be like, he was brave to open up, right? And that's, we need spaces like that. And it's funny because I was actually talking to my for Christmas. I actually was talking to my dad or whatever. Or actually, you know, like every year we kind of go around the room and everybody kind of says certain things about their, you know, what they had from the past year, what they accomplished and things like that. And towards the end, I gave a big shout out to my father because I said, you know what, you know, the fact that you as a man, you know, me being out on my own now, me seeing you as an example of somebody that, you know, has taken care of the household, has fixed, you know, if something is broke, you fix it. If bills need you pay it. If whatever needs to be done, you make stuff happen. You may not get a thank you, you may not get a appreciate you or nothing. And I realized I didn't, and so it's one of those things where, you know, as a kid, you just know dad taking care of everything. But now that I get older, now I'm taking care of stuff myself. Like if I fix my girl's tire or if I do something, she may not even thank me. Now I'm like, okay, now that's what my daddy feel like. You know what I mean? And so it's like I put myself in that frame now where it's like I understand how my daddy feels in this situation. And I gave him a big shout out because I said, you show me what a man is when I need to do and things I need to accomplish in life as well. And so I actually wanted him to cry, to be honest with you. Like I was trying to say enough stuff. But I wanted him to cry right there, honestly. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, you know what? My dad doesn't show emotion. You know what I mean? He doesn't show, like, if I came up to him and when I used to go off to college, I used to come up to him, he'd give me a handshake. He would never give me a hug. And so I had to realize, I said, no, we're going to break that. You know what I'm saying? So I eventually started hugging him every time I saw him after that.
So and, to your point, Corn,
just to create that bond and that emotion, like we don't show that emotion. I said, nah, me and my daddy, we're going to have that, you know?
Mm-hmm. So question, just yes or no, real quick. Did he cry?
So I said enough, and then so the crazy thing about it is my little brother, I guess he kind of picked up off what I said, and he basically gave a little speech too. And he did choke up a little. My little brother did. He choked up and got emotional. When he choked up and got emotional, I could see my dad's eyes water. He didn't cry, but so I could see his eyes get real red, and I was like, "Come on, cry," because I wanted him to cry.
I asked that because now here's the challenge. You sat there and intentionally poured into your pop, who obviously means a lot to you, right? And you wanted him to cry, but why wouldn't you?
No, I cry all the time.
I'm just saying, in that moment right there,
no, I do.
Gratitude to your pop, and he see you crying because he means so much to you. How do you think that channels the energy in him now?
No, and I like I said, I cry all the time. You know what I mean? And so in that moment, I just wanted him to hear what I'm saying, feel the emotion, and the emotion was there. You know what I'm saying? I think my eyes probably was watery, honestly.
Okay.
But and I can see him starting to get emotional as he started talking and hearing what I said. But I think the biggest thing is, like we was talking about toxic masculinity. My people from Arkansas, you know what I'm saying? We a country, they just do what they got to do. My granddaddy was the same way. He didn't cry. He just man up. He'd shake my hand. He was the same way. So I see where my dad got it from. But for me, I wanted to break that generational thing where it's like, oh, I can't show emotion, or I can't hug you, I can't do certain things. Now, every time my dad sees me now, we hug each other. You know what I mean? And I tell him I love him. And
you breaking generational curses or whatever.
That's what I'm trying to do. Right.
You cry all the time. You say, right?
I cry all the time.
Have you cried? Have you cried in front of your father? Have you cried in front of your father?
Ooh. You trying to counsel me right now?
No, what I'm saying is though, we talking about. I told you, vulnerability is the igniter to toxic masculinity. So right now, you even saying what you're saying right now, you love your pop, you pouring into him, and it's making you emotional. But because of how he was raised and maybe your fear of how he might respond, watching his son cry is preventing you from doing so.
You want answers? I want the truth.
No, like I said, that's something that I'm still developing too with him, because like I said, I'm trying to break that. So yes, I was emotional, and I have gotten and I have cried to a degree, you know what I mean, but not fully, because we still have that manly, like you got to man up, you can't cry, you can't do this, can't do that. So that's still there. I'm not gonna say that's not completely gone. That's still there, but it's definitely what's they call it, the cement. I'm definitely chiseling. I'm chiseling that.
Okay.
I'm chiseling.
All right.
So it ain't fully, but that was a good step that but I wanted to do that for a reason because, like I said, my dad is getting older. I'm getting older. I want to make sure he knows that. I love him and how much of an example he's been on my life. You know what I mean? So I wanted his flowers while he living. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Chief, those some good questions, bro.
He was
listen. So I shameless plug, fellas. I have a podcast myself, and it's All Black Men Need Therapy. That's what it's called. And the reality of it is, we all carry some shit that we need to get off our chest.
Bring me up there, y'all. I want to get up there.
Chief,
no doubt.
Chief lazy. He only do it once every quarter.
That's not true. We got a bunch in the clip right now.
Year, man.
Nah, we
use therapy once a quarter season.
Nah, I've learned. Just because we started the podcast, I've actually been going, and it's really helped me get. Like, I'm 42, fam. I just realized maybe like 2 years ago I was carrying daddy issues. So listening to Coon talk about his pop, I'm like, shit, I don't have a story like that at all. Not at all.
I agree. I started therapy last year. This is
okay.
Great decision. Great decision.
You said your side. What's one you part of?
What's that? My podcast?
I thought you said you was going through therapy.
Oh yeah, I am. I have my own personal therapist.
Okay, you got a personal.
I have my personal therapist. We also have the podcast, who's just encouraging black men to fucking talk because we got a lot of shit, man. We come with baggage, whether we realize it or not.
And what's that called?
All Black Men Need Therapy.
Yeah, put it in the chat, in the private chat.
Because I did do one earlier. All
right, Corn. Yeah. Put it in the private chat for that nigga, please.
No. I was gonna tell him, it's called Black Men Here. It's called Black Men Here.
That's why you can't be vulnerable. See.
Let me get.
Look at him.
Hey, Russ, come on, man. Wow. Ken, what you think?
I think a lot.
Be succinct.
Yeah. Wait, I took some notes. First of all, statistics says that 7 million Black Americans battle with depression. So one of the symptoms of suffering in silence is the likelihood of being depressed, the likelihood of having anxiety. That depression turns into physical stress, and that turns into heart attacks and other heart diseases, which really has a grip on us, on top of our health and our diet, but suffering in silence definitely goes across all income levels, the poverty, middle class, upper class, men. They all battle with suffering in silence because that's how you're brought up. I mean, from a boy, like when you're beat, like literally beat, like when you get in trouble, you're told you better not cry. And it's like, but you beat me. And then you're telling me not to cry? That is the formation of suffering in silence. Little things like that. As a little kid, you're conditioning them to suffer in silence. And it's basically, you're turning into an actor, basically. I mean, men already perform their masculinity anyway. It's all a performance. And you really heighten the performance when you are suffering in silence because you're acting, basically. You're acting like you have it all together. You're acting like everything's okay. You're acting like you're macho. You acting like you have all the answers, and you don't. You know what I'm saying? So I also think that us as Black people, and like Black men and Black people all together, we really value and care about the seen more so than the unseen. And by that, I mean, like, we care about showing you the clothes. It's seen. The cars are seen. The sneakers are seen. Like, the house is seen. But we don't focus on things like honor system and moral compass, and being a man of your word, and all of those things are kind of unseen. We don't even get life insurance policies. I mean, that's unseen.
But bring it back to the point.
Okay, bring it back to the point. Suffering in silence. Tapping on crying. Crying is because I heard someone talk about crying. I forgot. Well, most of you guys did, but crying is actually beneficial health wise. It literally, it fights bacteria. It literally improves vision. It heightens your mood. It soothes you. You end up feeling better. You know what I mean? So there's benefits.
No, I don't
to
know.
crying.
I don't know about the improved vision one, bro. I think you might have made that one up, dog.
No, I mean,
I don't cry
you
that
made
much.
that one up.
I can see well. I don't know.
All it takes is to do a quick search, and you would be able to see that crying does indeed help your vision. It keeps your vision clear because it keeps the ducts moist.
Hey, listen.
So,
Google says he's right. Google says he is right. It does improve vision.
Thank you.
I need to.
Hey, you're right. You're right. He's right.
Thank you. Thank you.
So-
My bro. But in all, I would like to say that suffering in silence, agree with my brother that it does us no good. It only hinders you, and you're not going to grow by suffering in silence. And you need to talk to someone, whether you're talking sometimes I have my therapist, I have a pain coping therapist and a regular therapist. And with that, I also pull out my phone and go to my voice notes and talk to my phone whenever I feel away, so you have to get it out.
Yeah. Okay. Did
Yeah,
I
hold
get
on,
everybody? Hold on. Hey, did I get everybody?
No, what you mean?
I skipped you on purpose, motherfucker. You been saying shit all show. Said,
should men suffer in silence? No. Do they? Yes. Nobody should be keeping all that energy bottled up in them because at some point it's going to explode. So everybody should have some type of safe space or circle where they can communicate and get some shit up off their chest. So, I mean, in short, since everybody been,
yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it kind of go along with a lot of other guys.
Yeah, everybody else, everything else said.
But that was Chris. Go ahead, Corey.
I just what's the question? I'm fucking with you, bro. Nah, men should not suffer in silence. I don't suffer in silence. I express myself all the time. I would never do it. I'm sure some of y'all or some men probably do it, but no, men should not suffer in silence. That's all I gotta say.
Corey, I have a question. Didn't you go to LSU, right?
Yes.
So you were around different cultures of people, right?
Not really. I mean, it was pretty much black and white. I wouldn't call it wasn't super diverse, no.
Did you grow up around a diverse group of people? Were you in predominantly black areas?
I grew up in an all-black neighborhood for sure.
Oh, okay. Were your parents educated?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to ask because expressing yourself and education level and being amongst other different cultures plays a role as well.
Oh yeah. So I grew up in an all-black neighborhood, but I went to, I guess, growing up, I went to mixed schools, but the pretty diverse high schools and stuff like that. But LSU wasn't that diverse. It's just a bunch of white folks and a handful of black folks.
Mr. White, what were you gonna say?
I did want to say this too, though, y'all. Back to the men. I know this is a little boom, but back to the men, hold the men accountable. I am getting so tired of it, and I'm a therapist, right? But I'm getting so tired of hearing the "we weren't taught how to express ourselves" thing. So when y'all hear men saying that, okay, so what are you gonna do about it? We got to start holding each other accountable to what to do about it. Because I am so tired of hearing that we weren't taught this and we don't see this. It's that's the automatic go-to, right? So that's what I really just wanted to encourage y'all to do. The next time y'all hear somebody say that, ask them, well, what are you doing about it now? Because we know what the issue is. We all know what the issue is, but we need to push each other to start doing something about it now.
It's not your fault that you went through that and that you were conditioned that way, but it is your responsibility to reteach yourself.
Absolutely.
I think I think we're pushing back very hard on how we were conditioned. I'm not throwing all that away. I'm sorry. Your exterior, your dexterity, all that has to matter. No, wait, is dexterity how you flexible? No. I'm talking about like when you get a callus.
Mm-hmm.
Like that has to matter. It's not easy out here.
Of course.
Right, but at the same time, once you
But at the
become
same
aware
time,
of an issue, how long do you just sit there and
what I'm
stay in
saying
it?
is, I'm not. I don't know if suffering in silence just across the board. I'm not saying every single subject matter that you should just hold on to, but some
Right.
things that you have to deal with internally, and you
Yeah,
have
I
to deal
agree.
with yourself. And when you have a wife and you have children, there's some shit that you got to take and put on your back, and they should never know about it.
Yeah, but that's a lot different than what we talking about. I think the word suffering is a big goddamn deal, bro.
But
like we all got shit we go through that we compartmentalize and keep pushing. But suffering is a big word, bro.
Yeah. So, what about this? Married men, right? You know the statistics, right? Sexless marriages, but men don't leave, right? Especially when you have children, right? Because what happens is if you leave, right, because you're not getting satisfied, but then you don't get to be with your children every day. And then men cheat or whatever the case is. But I'm not divorcing you, and then I don't get to be with my children every day because this one thing is not being satisfied, right? But in terms of that, we suffer in silence with that. But like, how should we deal with that, for instance, as an example? It might be a bad one too.
All right, so with something like that, I think that's the getting the help. That's seeing if your wife is open to getting counseling, because it got to be something that y'all both are willing to do. Because if y'all not having sex, it's not about sex. It's layers. So it's a lot of deeper things. It could be some resentment in there, like who knows. But that's when you try to say, okay, hey, we have these other issues. Hey, let's bring somebody else in so that we can talk about and process this stuff with. You got to be willing to do all different types of things and keep bringing up different suggestions. So even if it's, well, hey, what if you pick the person? You know what I'm saying? Or I don't know, just keep trying to come up with different things to fix that or to resolve it.
What's funny about this situation that Hemp just said? Like, Hemp just said, like, it's easy to say it's done, correct? I'm sure maybe none of us never been there before to even really know how to get through that. You know what I'm saying? So,
right. That's why I say you go get a professional, because we don't know how. Like when Kenny was asking the question, like, when are we ever taught? We don't know until you in that situation. You know what I'm saying? And most of the time, because there is resentment or something like that, if she's not sleeping with you, more than likely she's in a position to where she's not really going to receive a lot from you anyway. You know what I'm saying? She probably cold to you in a lot of other areas. So it's nothing you're going to be able to say or do to change her mind. But if you bring somebody else in, now you at least got a shot, or at least try it. If it don't work, then you just stuck where you at. You know what I'm saying? Or try something else.
I don't think it's the best example because your girl knows that you're not fucking her.
So that's still
you said what?
I think it's not the best example because your girl knows you're not having sex with her. You know what I mean? So y'all are in essence suffering together, in my opinion, in that you're not suffering in silence. Because she also knows that y'all aren't having sex. But I would ask you, Hamp, for example purposes, then like if you lost your job today, how long would you go before telling your significant other? Like, would you just wait till you got a new gig, or would you be like, hey, just so you know, we about to strap up because shit ain't working out down at the factory, you know, or whatever. Like, I think that would be more of a accurate hypothetical for this question.
Yeah, and that's why I make sure I qualified it where it could have been a bad example, right? So for me, if I was answering specifically, I would tell her, you know. But you guys know me, so you know I hustle too. So
I think
I'm not gonna be super duper worried, right? If I'm just using myself, and I hate when people do that, you know what I'm saying? But I would say it because I'm getting money and other, you know. So I would make it work. But when P first brought that example up, in terms of when it's real hard, I'm gonna keep that. And that shit is stressful. You can't sleep when the money ain't right. But I'm gonna keep that, and I'm gonna suffer or push through that, without her having to deal with it with me.
Yeah, so I think I think even in this conversation, we're all still hella surface level with it. Because when we said suffer, the first thing all of us went to was financially. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we deem as suffering. Fam, my younger brother was murdered. You know what I'm saying? That shit wasn't easy. I tried to, suffer in silence. What happens? 2.5-year depression. At the time, I'm like, my brother was murdered. I'm supposed to feel sad. I'm supposed to feel sorry. And when you come up on top of it, like, nigga, you was depressed for 2.5 years. You know what I'm saying? So suffering, there's levels to that shit. You dig what I'm saying? So we can't just, as men, I think we're wired to only look at it in certain ways. So I think to your point, Russ, to answer the question, like in regards to the work thing, like P said, you come home and you tell your lady what it is, but you go out and get it. You find a way. Like, okay, babe, I got fired today, but don't worry, we gonna be all right. I'm gonna figure this out.
Chief, yeah, that was good, but like you said, fuck all that, right? Because you mentioned it, right?
Okay.
When your brother passed, God bless the dead, right? We all was around each other, and we was all still playing football, and we had moments here and there, but we would still do what we always did. And then did any of us even come and say, "P, you straight"?
I remember the champion, no bullshit, real quick. The championship game in Hungerford Park, you got the MVP that game. And I remember hugging you, and after I hugged you, nigga, I broke down in tears. Yeah. This was like a couple months after that. Broke down in tears at the game, crying. Yeah. But I don't even think, and the crazy thing is, not many cats picked up on it, or like you said, offered it. Yo, you good? Like I'm just, I'm thinking my brother was murdered. I'm supposed to feel this way. You dig what I'm saying? Like he was a part of the team, blah 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 blah. But I didn't talk to. How many times we sit down and talk about my brother? Him?
Nah, never probably.
See what I'm saying?
And but I'm glad he brought up that point, because that's the real suffering in silence. The part when you feeling like you're not enough and you don't need to be here, and people will be better off without you, and you'll never figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Those dark moments when it's literally just you and you don't show that to nobody. That's the stuff you don't need to deal with by yourself.
But at that time, we don't know. Like you said, we don't know at that time what that we like in the middle of that situation, fam. I literally thought this is what I'm supposed to feel like when you lose a significant other. It was my very first funeral to have to identify a body, pick the casket, make the arrangements, and bury my younger brother. Like I've never been there before. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, this is how I'm supposed to feel. Now everybody in the family leaning on me. Who the fuck I'm leaning on?
Facts, but because you went through it now you got the podcast. So now you telling everybody else. Right. And what I'm saying is the majority, that's why I'm saying like, okay, we heard enough of we don't know what to do, but now we know it. You know what I'm saying? The things that we need is available to us, even as we get older. Like I know you said, hey, if you cried when we got off, most of the people would have gonna get off and laugh at you. Maybe 10, 15 years ago we would have. But every man up here probably done been through so much after they gonna be like, damn, like boy must have really been hurt to break down in front of everybody, to the point to where that's gonna affect most of us. I know it's gonna affect me. That affects me more than things that I go through on my own is when I see other men get to that breakdown point, because I've been there. So now that we older and we can relate more to it, we need to make sure we're pushing other people to go do the things that we know, especially when we've been through something and it helped us.
So according to Hamp in the beginning, if I break down and y'all catch me crying, I'm less masculine. I'm not as much of a man. I'm not as much of a man anymore.
Most of the time, yo. Toxic most of the time.
No strategy. That's in that song. That's what you gotta know about that. Everybody know that.
Yeah, Hemp be right with a lot of things he say, but he got no strategy. He just gonna be blunt and just say it, boom, right? He don't care how it's received, but he has gotten way better. So let me give you flowers to him. So most of the time he gonna be like that. Shit like that. Well, it's the truth, so it don't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Nah. So, but just to clarify that point, I'm talking about like physical pain. Like if you cry from emotional, right? Like with my kid, that shit was the illest. With my wife, that shit was ill. You know, like when people are intubated, it's just a tube to breathe, but that shit impacts you when you see it. You know.
But I think at a certain point in manhood, once you move out of childhood, I think most men ain't crying the physical pain no more. You know what I'm saying?
Look at Corey, Chief. That nigga.
Physical pain. I think
he wins.
Yeah, but I think even more than it becomes like an anger thing at that point. Like we find it like it's not the physical pain. We turn it into anger, and that's what has us crying. We just pissed off that, you know what I mean, we hurting this way.
Let
It ain't the pain.
Let me show you. You right. Let me show y'all this. I predicated a lot of stuff off this for a long time. And Terrence might know what this is. Maybe Adrian, I don't know. Or Corn. Can you guys see this?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
William Ernest Henley. Whatever
Yeah.
his name
So
is.
sir.
this poem is called Invictus. William Ernest Henley was I forget what his actual job was off the top of my head, but essentially he was on his deathbed, and this is a poem that he wrote, knowing he's about to die. But this is what he this was his premise. So can you guys see it well? Shall I read it?
I can see it.
Right. So I don't know. I predicated a lot of stuff off this. I think there's something to this. I think this is substantive, and I don't want to throw away all of this because we need to be more in touch. I think men gotta stay somewhat close to this in some aspects. You know? Interesting, man. Damn, this shit is ill, man. Like, I'm just thinking, because so we all could play ball pretty well, right? We had a couple guys who played in different leagues and things of that nature. But Mike, his name is Mike, but we all call him Chief because that reverence and respect. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just thinking back to that. And I think I should say sorry to Chief because I can speak for everybody else, but I never even broached that topic. We just know that we love each other and we know we could get what you want from one another. Like, we both 49ers fans, all types of corny shit. But we never, like, you know what I mean? We don't even get to that point. And that's a goddamn shame. So, Chief, I apologize.
Salute, man. No tripping at all. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you.
Damn, man. Damn, Ken, I don't want to start Ken up. That nigga, boy.
Don't do me like that. Don't do me like that. I have something to say though. I have something to say.
Hey, hold on, Ken, before you go, real quick. So you said that dude's name was Henry. What's his name? Henry Hurst.
William Ernest Henley.
William Hurst. That's a gentleman of a different persuasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you look up to somebody like that? Never knew that. Cool. Go ahead, Ken.
God damn.
See what you gotta.
Damn.
What you gotta understand about the Caucasus Mountains is we just thank the Most High for some of the shit that they.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, I just wanted clarification. That's all. I apologize, Mr. Ken. Go ahead, Mr. Ken Fitzgerald.
But good as good. All right, go ahead, Ken.
So,
I'm gonna pull some ladies up here. Go ahead.
The suicide rate for Black people, like in Black men, has been rising consistently throughout the years, and I think it was like in 2019, it was the second leading cause of death of Black people or Black men between the ages of 15 to 24.
Black men, yep.
Yeah, and I think it was between 2011 and 2020, the suicide rate by Black men was like 3 times that of Black women. So, like, this suffering silence is doing us a disservice in the end.
I have to push back on that. I have to push back because if we're saying what Adrian's saying to be true, that we are more in touch, we are not as toxic as we used to be back in the day. Why weren't those men committing suicide and things of that nature at higher rates if it was so bad back then? And now we know more, but now we killing ourselves.
I have the answer. I have answers for this. You mean all it takes is a quick Google. And the study suggests that social media plays a major part. We did not have social media back in the day in the 60s and so forth and so on. What you knew is what you knew. What you knew in your household is what you knew. You didn't know about what was going on in everybody else's household. You know, the gifts, everybody showcased their gifts on Christmas, the gifts to the ceiling, your pagan holidays and things. So social media plays a role. Racism still plays a role as well. with black men, because black men really don't know how to handle that, and because we have not really fought against racism since Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and them. That's really doing a damper on us as well. So there are reasons why there are more suicides now than it was back in the time that you love so much.
Yeah, I don't know if you proved the point, but I think you do have a point with social media a little bit.
I mean, it's these are studies that have been done, so it's
No,
a
they
quick
ain't.
Google search. There you go. Denying facts.
Fuck them studies.
How masculine is that to deny facts?
Men are factual, so that's masculine.
You're denying a fact, though.
Well, I don't know if it's proven. I don't know what you Google.
Did
You
conduct a
put
study?
in this is what you put in Google. You put in social media leads to more suicides, right?
This nigga
That's what you
tell
put
me-
in. So if
that's
you
not
Google
what I
with a
put in.
presupposition,
I put in
that's what pops up.
Why are black men committing suicide? This nigga love to be Cleo. You are not Cleo. You're very bad at reading minds, by the way.
Who did they have that conversation with about why black men are committing suicides?
White men.
I don't. No, the statistic was specifically for black people. For black people, the one that I read.
After the
is-
fact, they asked him, "Why'd you do it?" I'm just saying, where'd you get? Where they come with that?
But you can find the answer to whatever side you're looking for. Whichever side you want to debate, you can find the answer to. In
I mean,
most
the same
cases.
way when people die, there are people who actually investigate why they died, what they ate. There are people who actually study this. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you can find that out.
What are you talking about? There are people who study these things.
Nah, not buying it. It's another one of your fake stats. Continue.
Okay. Denying facts, very masculine. Mary going off.
All right, let me see. Hold, let me see if I can get Q.
Mary ain't going off.
Don't do Mary like that.
Right, because you think I don't? You want to
man.
ask him if I be going on?
You don't be going off.
Let me
your husband just left. He said he running everything. He was very masculine.
Wasn't y'all talking about financials?
Don't come on here acting badass now. Your man just said he running the show over there.
Yeah, ladies, let's be vulnerable.
He made it clear he paid the bills. Listen, he made it clear he paid the bills. That's what he did. Y'all wasn't listening.
He said he running the show over there. Don't come on here talking big shit now.
No, I run shit. Trust me.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
All right. So hold on.
Hey,
Let
Alex.
me get
Hey,
Q
Angel.
real quick. Let me get Q on here real quick. So y'all been listening in? I've been listening well.
Of course. That's what we do. We're good listeners.
I don't know. Some people make me tune out a little bit. So when too much going on, it be like,
you ready, Ham?
Mary,
Oh,
that's not good. That's not good. That you can't hear people if you don't like what they're saying.
no, it's not about not liking what they
Word?
say.
Is that
When it goes off the topic and it veers off.
Oh, I see. So, what's your thoughts on some of the Alex? God damn it!
Oh, who's she cursing out?
I was sipping my water. Sorry.
Why'd you have to go off camp? Bro.
Because it looks weird with the straw, okay?
Right,
Thank
whatever.
you.
Hey, that's toxic femininity.
Toxic.
Yes, it's
That's toxic femininity.
Go ahead and eat your glizzy, man. Just eat your glizzy.
So what were your thoughts,
I mean, a lot was said
Alex?
here.
Alex.
Go ahead, Alex.
I thought it was a beautiful conversation. This definitely proved that men need safe spaces to have conversations. It was interesting because when the conversation initially started, and which is why I love definitions, I don't think people really understood what toxic masculinity meant until Chief was able to go ahead and add in some context, until Corn was able to go ahead and add in some context. And I know we kept harping on it a little bit, but even in it was laughable moment, but even in the conversation about the glizzy or the hot dog, whatever it is, right? When you see that, it's just like, why, as a man, why would you do that, right? Those things are considered toxic. Like, why can't I just enjoy certain things? I also think on the topic of when it says, should men suffer in silence? I think we automatically think about just financial, and it's not. It's bigger than that. And I think we keep equating men to just their pockets, their financial leverage, right? When there's more to that. I think when it comes down to health, I know for my husband, he had a torn rotator cuff. This man sat with it for years, and I was finally like, "Yo, you are in a lot of pain. Say something. You need to do something about it." And it literally took him 8 years after the injury to go ahead and get the surgery. And it was a night and day experience for him. And for me, it was just, why didn't you say anything? When we've had certain issues that have come up, and I'm like, moments that you should be saying, like, it's okay. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to process, or whatever the case is. But I think as a society, we don't allow men to have the safe space. And I even think that's on women as well. I think that's just kind of how we're conditioned on both ends. But I think this was a beautiful conversation. And I liked, as the conversation progressed, that people were getting a little bit more vulnerable. And then Chief, and speaking to at the basketball game with the hug, that really resonated to me, because you might have
goddamn basketball.
Oh, I'm sorry, football, whichever. Okay, toxic, excuse me. But I thought that was a very endearing moment, and to me, it was bigger than the hug. He needed that. So I think moments like that are very far and few. I wish that there were more spaces and opportunity for that to happen, but we live in the society that we do. I think that we are getting there, but it's going to take some time and a lot of unlearning to get there.
Question. So I know you guys were in the chat. So you think it makes a man toxic to like keep some of the stereotypes that men have had?
Yes, it's not real.
To not cry and all that, that's toxic.
Yes, it's not real.
I believe it is to an extent.
That's a bullshit answer a little bit though, right? Because to an extent can be everything.
I mean, it could be bullshit, but it can also be truth. So whichever side. But to me, I feel like, yes, like if my son, like when it went down to you guys talking about physical pain, I feel like that's how you guys have learned not to cry over physical pain. You fall down when you're little, come on, get your ass up. You all right? Brush it off. That's how men are able to handle physical pain better. I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with that. Now, somebody just yelled at you or whatever the case may be, and you're crying, you're upset, you can't express yourself. That's the toxic part of it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just automatically, shut up, you're a boy, don't cry. But a lot of people, I've seen a lot of mothers, I'm gonna say specifically, not go to the extent to continue to have a conversation. Hey, what's wrong? Yeah, I don't want you crying, but what's wrong? With my sons, I'm gonna say, hey, I can't hear what the fuck you saying if you crying. Stop crying, but I'm gonna continue to ask you what's wrong. And I think from back in the day, that's the part that a lot of parents did miss, was actually giving, y'all know I'm big on children having voices, was giving a child a voice so that it's not toxic. But because they, I feel like men were never able, given that safe space to have that voice, that's where it becomes toxic.
Okay. Asia, so what do you think about toxic masculinity? Like, for instance, I'm not teaching my son to cry over no bullshit. Right? It's better to understand. Right?
So I don't think
happens.
No one's teaching their child to cry over BS. Let's be clear. No one. So you're not unique in that. No one's teaching.
What are you talking about? If he falls down and skims his knee, I'm not going and crying. That's
again.
bullshit.
I'm using the word that you utilize. No one's teaching their child to cry over BS. So you're not unique in that regard.
I disagree with
no
you.
one. So you're trying to tell me, parents that would sit there and literally teach their child to cry over BS?
Yeah. I think people think it's okay to cry over anything.
I think you're overgeneralizing, because what you think is BS, others don't. And so you really can't.
You said that nobody does it. So did you overgeneralize?
I said no, I did not overgeneralize. I said you are not unique, because because BS's definition is relative. You're getting off topic, Camp.
What's no one?
Yeah, you're getting off topic.
Is that not overgeneralized? You saying
no, you didn't get your rocks off this whole hour and 40 minutes. I get it. I'm back. I'm here now. So what's up?
No, you were saying I overgeneralized. You said no one. right? So is that an overgeneralization?
No, it's truth. Nobody is going to teach their child to cry over BS because your definition of BS is not their definition. Is what I'm saying to you.
Okay.
It's relative and it's subjective.
All right.
Well, that's all my point was. You're not unique in that regard. So people teach their children to communicate, but what they do, they kind of err on the side of overly expression through your crying and saying, let it all out. With, like Mary said, without fully explaining and expounding upon, use your words, fully and process how you're feeling. So toxic masculinity does exist. I think toxic femininity also exists. I think toxicity is a trait that can exist on both sides of the aisle and genders. And so we see it. We talked about it on the podcast, toxic femininity, but we've called it low vibrational for women.
I know, but can we just stay on topic?
Are you freaking kidding me? Y'all don't have to run off topic. But
No,
you know
we
what?
didn't.
I'm going to stay on the color in the lines today. I'm going to color in the lines because we got to guess.
Well, yeah, because I just wanted to be right. The men been able to learn a lot. So if we start bringing in the women and the feminine,
I wasn't bringing in women. I'm just saying toxicity is on both sides of the aisle. So toxicity does exist, masculine and feminine. And I think that to the point of toxicity is when it's detrimental to you and to others. That's the toxicity piece of it. So can it exhibit in the masculine form? Yes. It can also exhibit in the feminine form. We'll say on the masculine though. I just want to put that out there. But yes, it does exist.
Okay. So if I don't cry when I get hurt, how is that a detriment to others?
I don't care. I mean, I don't care if you don't cry when you get hurt, but the problem is if it builds up, if you're hurt, not physical. I'm talking about emotional. Forget about physical. F that. Like you don't cry. If your shoulder's broke, don't cry. Who cares? But if you have emotional and spiritual pain and you're not processing it, doesn't have to be a cry. It could be a conversation. It could be working out. It could be doing a therapist. It could be journaling. But expressing it is what's toxic because it does cause a buildup and it may not be exhibited in that moment or maybe the next hour, but it's going to come out in some toxic way to yourself and or to others.
Okay. So the definition is and or, just so I'm clear in terms of toxicity. It has to affect other people or can it just be you?
It can just affect you. Yeah.
Okay.
It's toxic.
Gotcha. What you think, Q?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. First of all, I gotta disagree with you, Asia. I think people, if you're talking about learning by example, teaching by example, I think there are people who do teach their children to cry over BS.
BS is relative was the only point I was making though.
Oh, okay. Like I said, I think there are people who teach their kids to cry over BS. Like just bullshit ass, non-important, not that serious shit. So, and they teach them by example. I think that as far as doing a little bit of research and looking up the definition of toxic masculinity, I don't think there is a such thing because the definition of toxic masculinity equates to feminine traits. So the shit that is defined in that is shit that niggas do when they are bitch made.
Wow.
When I read the definition.
Read it. You have it still, Q?
Oh no, I don't have it on me right now. But basically it's like when you use control and violence and all that other shit. Like if you're a man who has to operate in that way, that's some bitch shit. So that's not even masculine in any way. So at that point, the masculinity part is taken completely out of there. Toxic masculinity, it just doesn't go together. It doesn't make sense. But this is just my opinion. Let me land. So no, to me, there is no such thing as toxic masculinity, damaging violence or violence that's used damaging in a damaging way from men. As far as masculinity, that shit doesn't even go in the same category. You was a bitch ass nigga. I think that as far as the crying shit and men suffering in silence, I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off by saying this. I think there is something powerful about men suffering in silence, and I don't think that it's a negative thing. However, I think that because there are so many fatherless men nowadays are a lot more feminine, a lot softer. So there is therefore a need for them to suffer in the face of other people.
Man, get the fuck out of here.
I'm just so when I've said and I've said this before, Black men need therapy. That would apply to most Black men nowadays because there's a lot of Black men being raised by single mothers and grandmothers and aunties and just a lot of people that are, they don't have that strong male influence. But I think when you do, you know what it means to suffer in silence. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I speak from experience. Like, I'm the kind of person that, like, I have a lot of masculine energy. I think in part it's because of my life's experience. The other part is because, I've been raised around a lot of guys. So for me, something that doesn't apply to most women would apply to me. Like, if I'm under a lot of stress, let me go for a long car drive. That's not like I'm mad at you, I hate you, or I don't, you know what I mean? It's not all that soft shit like, oh, you don't want to be around. What that mean? I need to get my mind focused. That's what the fuck that means. You know what I'm saying? But I'm by myself. It's so I totally get that idea of suffering in silence. I don't know if I'm making sense to any one person on the panel right now, but that's just my opinion.
You got me. The part that you specifically brought up that I actually wanted to bring up was the fact that the suffering and silence of men. I feel like with me specifically, it allows me to allow somebody to lead. If I feel like you can do everything, because not saying it's a good thing, but because you can do everything, I'm going to follow your lead. Because I don't see what hold you down or hold you back. To me, you're a superhero. To me, you can do anything. So it allowed me to be at my softest moments and allows me to stand in my femininity, or however you want to say it, due to the fact that you have kind of suffered in silence. Not saying that it takes you over the board where you try and kill yourself type of thing.
Right.
I'm talking about just plain old.
You want your man to suffer in silence because you can only follow a superhero?
No,
that's not what she said.
That's only what she said.
That's not what I'm saying.
She said if that nigga show any kinks in his armor, she might not be able to follow him. So that nigga needs to be flawless.
That's not
Corey, what you're doing right now is what women tend to do, which is they'll listen to somebody in part and then try to translate.
I listen to the whole thing. First I listen to the whole thing.
You're trying to translate what she's saying. Like,
I'm trying to get understanding.
I feel like what I said was
yes or no question.
What I said was pretty clear. Again, if we're expecting somebody to lead us, that means that we know what the fuck they're doing and what they're talking about. If I see you crying all the fucking time because something comes up, you think I'm gonna think that you can handle some shit? If I see you crying every fucking 5 minutes, the shit you come across, no, I'm gonna think you're a bitch. Okay. So because you have your moments where you suffer in silence, not saying that I applaud somebody suffering in silence, but because you got it, and I'm not worried about it because you got it. That puts me in a position where I'm like, I know he could lead. But if I'm in a fucking jungle with somebody that's 5'2" and scared as fuck, crying all the time, do I think that this nigga can help me? No, I'm not gonna think he's a bitch.
You're talking in hyperbole, though, Mary. No man's gonna cry every 5 minutes. Yeah. Like, of course, I don't want to talk in hyperbole. So let me ask you a question, Mary.
Anyway.
If your man shows you vulnerability, is that a problem for you?
No, it's not. My man comes to me about everything first.
But if he cries when he shows it, that's a problem.
I'm not saying that. I did not say anything I did not say that, there's not an issue with somebody being vulnerable or I didn't say that.
How can he show you vulnerability that you're comfortable with?
Well, I'm comfortable with any way that he comes to me.
No, you just said you wasn't comfortable with him crying.
I didn't say I wasn't comfortable. Now you're putting words in my mouth.
You're
I'm
mismatching.
saying there is a
She did not say that at all. She said it's not complicated. Y'all making this shit way too complicated. He said she can look up to that guy that's doing that. She didn't say it was anything wrong with him coming in a certain way or being vulnerable, as AJ said.
She literally
just
said it
saying
was
that
bitch made.
it makes her feel some kind of way when this guy handles things a certain kind of way. That's all. That's what she said. She ain't saying that he's no weaker, no.
That's not what she said. She literally said, if that nigga's crying, I don't feel comfortable following him in the jungle.
I'm gonna think you're a bitch. Yes.
He said crying over every little thing. Every little thing. Like every situation, he's sitting back crying and bringing it to her.
But that's not what we're talking about.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. Not even me as a woman. I'm not gonna come to you every 5 minutes that some shit don't go my goddamn way. No. So
that's
the man
not what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I think we're still playing real surface level with some of this shit because the key word is suffer, and that shit is suffering is deep. We talking about like basic level traumas or daily mishaps or some bullshit like that. That we juggle that shit all the time.
Yeah.
But suffering, I think suffering's a big deal. In one word, I just been wanting to listen and understand all perspective. But I heard Q's the words you used were there's something about suffering in silence that's powerful.
Mm-hmm. So,
and I beg to differ in that regard.
So, Hamp, expound on what you meant by suffering when you posed the question.
Okay, then that might. Okay.
Because how I interpret it is what I was speaking to, Chief.
Okay, no, I mean, and I heard you. I'm just saying, but when I think of suffering, I feel like anybody suffering needs help. Anybody, man, woman, black, white, or indifferent. So maybe I'm playing on the word suffering because there's a bunch of shit that we deal with every day that we just, it's part of the game. Chalk it up to the game. I got fired, lost my job, whatever. My shorty cheated, whatever. I'm gonna deal with this. But when it comes to suffering, that shit is just different levels.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something?
I'm talking surface level.
Okay, well then.
Go ahead, I think. Oh.
When you say suffering, I guess this is to Chief directly. When you say suffering, do you ever feel like it's like a being stuck, if you will? Like when you say suffering, do you kind of feel like I can't get out of this? So like in that moment.
So when I heard suffering, the only thing that really took me back to was a situation with my brother. Like at that point, I'm at the lowest of my lows, and I'm like reaching for help, but there's nobody to really. At the time, again, I'm 28, first funeral, and have nowhere to really latch onto while everybody's leaning on me. You know what I'm saying? So when I think of suffering, I'm thinking at the lowest of my lows, I couldn't do it in silence. I couldn't. So you know what I'm saying? I had to lean on somebody.
So let me ask y'all a question.
And I tried.
Channel ever been through the dark night of the soul?
What is that?
Okay. Hamp, in the Bible, because you know the Bible real well, did Jesus suffer in silence or was there people helping him on the cross?
In silence.
I thought he cried out.
Jesus?
No,
he cried out and got help?
He cried out to the Most High, and he cried out knowing he wasn't gonna get no help, but he expressed it. But even when he walked across, he never defended himself. He knew what time it was. Now when
he was crying when he was, what do you? So you're saying someone getting whipped, holding a cross, they're not crying? They're not like saying ouch.
Where did you get that from?
They're like.
And can I add in? Do you understand the night before he was praying, he asked his friends to pray for him. He did. It's in the Bible. And he also said,
I didn't even finish
him. I'm just saying, but
what I'm saying is I didn't even finish saying anything. Kenny jumped in talking about when he talked to the Most High. But we're talking about in terms of like complaining, looking for somebody to help you. No, that man knew what time it was, right? And so he went through it.
But it wasn't in silence, though, is the point.
So are you guys just thinking that it's just
okay.
Like straight using any words at all?
No. So even if let's just say it was in silence. Let's just say it was in silence. The question is, should he have to?
This is the part that gets annoying about this.
That's the best.
People start to give these dismissive, like reactions, right? When the fellas is on, we had the conversation, right? So I think it's key to try to stay in that so we can continue to learn.
So to your point, Hamp, with bringing it back to the whole Jesus thing, yes, he suffered, but the question was, should he have to suffer in silence? That's the question. Should he suffer in silence?
He had to suffer in silence to save all of us. Just like in some opinions, men have to suffer in silence for their family. And that's just a fact.
Dying for your people and suffering is two different things. Dying for your people.
It could be suffering too, because if somebody pull a gun out, I'm going to die before my family dies. Period. So I'm going to suffer.
You don't have to suffer, but I would argue the ones suffering then are the ones who's living. They just lost all you, so now they're the ones suffering.
Hey, I got a quick question for all the people who say we should suffer in silence. What are the pros of suffering in silence? What's the benefits of that?
The benefits. So I think Mary. I just want to make sure that you guys heard.
Nah, just give me the benefits though.
No. So when Mary was talking, no, because
no benefits.
I think it's key what she was saying though.
I don't.
Like she wasn't asking for that, but she's just saying like if her husband stays strong, right, through trauma, through situations, that's admirable, right? If he doesn't come to her with everything and he's dealing with it and he's doing the best he can and he may be suffering at a different depth than what Chief was referring to, that's admirable for a woman. That's all.
And I get that. So I think maybe for me it was just when I hear the word suffering.
So she valued the wrong traits in men. Okay, cool, got you. All right,
I
cool.
think I agree with Chief in the sense, and when he says that suffer is a very, very strong word. It is.
Okay. So I think there's levels, like obviously. So now we've established that. So I think that makes it, we got to figure out which part of suffering we're talking about.
When
Can
I
I
think
give you
about,
guys an example?
I just want to say, for example, Pam, we know he works 7 days a week. 7 days a week. Every time I turn around, he's here, he's there. He's got kids, he's a husband, he's a father, he's a brother, all of these things, right?
Ain't working.
Pam, are there not moments, or do you feel, or are you ever asked, genuinely, do you feel like you are genuinely asked, how are you feeling? And if you are asked in those moments, do you genuinely feel that you can be vulnerable, despite what the outcome may be? Not saying that it's going to change the amount of hours you have to work, right? Not saying that it's going to take anything off of your plate. But do you ever feel that you can be vulnerable in that moment? At all?
So now that you mention it, the moment doesn't come that often.
Right.
People very rarely ask. I worked 14 hours on Sunday. And when I got home at 1:00 from DJing, my wife gave me the baby.
And I think that right there is what I'm talking about, and saying you are going to do it regardless because you are masculine, you are the lead of your house. But I think even just something as simple as taking the time, know that you still going to help me with these babies, but taking the time out to just ask, yo, how are you feeling? Is your body okay? Are you tired? Did you eat? Do you have the capacity to deal with this crying baby after you work this 14-hour shift? And a lot of times, I think as women, we don't ask and we assume because they don't say anything. And I think that's where silence is powerful. Just because someone doesn't say anything, a lot of times it's the things that they don't say that are more powerful and that are more telling. And then you have situations where he's been working himself in the ground, not putting this on you, but in general, it comes out of nowhere that the man has a heart attack or his blood pressure is high or he's suicidal or he's depressed because you're suffering in silence. That's what I mean when I think about it. Like, no, it may not change the outcome of things. However, how many times do we ever take a chance in a moment to ask, yo, are you good? And genuinely mean that. Are you okay? But I don't think that happens.
Some of what you're saying, Alex, I think is like, again, teaching by example. Like as you're growing up in a certain household, you would learn how to maneuver certain situations.
But I think, yeah, I agree with that. But I'm saying is that I think Kenny had said it earlier, you can't control the household that you grew up in, but as you grow and you mature, it's up to you to go ahead and to change and make a difference. For me, and maybe it's a me thing, maybe it's evolving, but like, or maybe I'm just a considerate person. I'm going to ask you like, yo, my husband also works 7 days a week sometimes, right? There are moments where I'm like, yo, you're doing a lot. We're not doing that. You need to sit down. I'm watching you. You're not going to say anything because you're going to be Superman for everyone around. But me as your partner, I'm watching you. You need to take a break. You need to sit down. Could just be a me thing, but it happens. And I don't think anyone ever really stops to ask because men don't say anything. They just do. Because it's toxic for them to express how they're feeling or to say, I'm tired. It's not looked at as manly to say, I'm tired. You're just supposed to do it and make it happen, and that's it.
So do you guys know where you're at, Alex? Like inclement weather?
I'm sorry,
Say it again. You cut out a little bit, Q. Say it again.
Do you guys get snow or inclement weather where you live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does your husband do all of the snow removal? Do you guys pay somebody or do you help him?
I help.
Okay. It's no like, and so for me, I have my own house. I do my own snow removal. I don't get help like that. Like, it's just normal to just do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, to your point, yeah, your body gets tired, but I think there's a certain tolerance that people build up when they're used to stepping into a certain role is where I'm trying. So that's what I mean. Like, I think when you grow up a certain way, you just know how to maneuver to where something that might be overwhelming for you may not be overwhelming for him.
But I think to both of your points, though, I think Q, you got it. That's a great point. But I think to Alex's point, I think what she did was recognize that in her partner and provided a safe space for him to be like, yo, like, thank you. Like, I needed this minute. And I think that's clutch, because we will endure those little elements of suffering. But to have someone recognize that and be like, babe, just take a minute. That shit is monumental for us, yo. Like, monumental, because we won't stop. We'll just keep going. But if somebody sees that and curates that moment of just peace for us, that shit makes a world of a difference, for sure.
So for you, Chief, you don't have to communicate your needs. You want a woman who just kind of looks in and assumes what she thinks you need.
No. I'm just speaking in general in regards to the situation. For me, I think I'm self-aware enough to know, like, okay, you about to burn out, bro. You need to take a minute. You know what I'm saying? And I can communicate that if need be, or I just take my minute. But I think someone catching us in the middle of that shit sometimes is big.
Yeah.
But that was like your actual need, not something she is assuming that is your need.
I mean, just to communicate that, I think is clutch. But even in terms of, okay, like, let's go back to my situation, being in that moment where I wasn't sure, I didn't know it was a depression. For someone to see me and go, bro, like, I see this, I see this, I see this, I see this. This looks like it could be depression, and I'm like, shit, maybe I should look more into that. So sometimes it is good to acknowledge that observance, and it could help change the situation. You know what I'm saying?
Can I say this? I think that quite a few things that kind of yeeked me a bit. To say that someone being your Superman is such a hard job. Oh my gosh. Like, when I think of cis-het Black men, I literally pray for you guys. It is such a hard job to be a cis-het Black male living in this world. And to be a Superman on top of that, I just think that, where does that lead? And I believe that there's a difference between suffering, building character, and learning the ropes of things, it's a difference between suffering, building character, and challenges that you face that you don't really talk about, but you're facing those challenges that builds character. Those are two different things. But the difference is that with suffering, you're going to have to do work on the back end to correct what was damaged. The same way, just like spine, for instance, if your spine is being impinged for too long, there's going to be damage, and it's going to take a lot of healing, different exercises and things, surgeries to like bring that back alive. And just to give an example, like a vulnerable moment for me to you guys, and I attempted suicide 3 times in high school, and no one was checking for me. No one at all. And I was suffering in silence. When I finally talked about it to family, they were like, I'm glad you made it out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it built character. Yeah, it built certain things, but I've had to do the work on the back end to correct that of which was damaged. So I just believe that we're conflating the whole suffering and challenges. We're putting them together. Yeah, they may get, you may create just a wonderful person who could be your Superman because he suffered. But where does that lead him in the long run? It's going to lead him to like an early death.
But Kenny, I want to say that
you can't tell me that men out here, they're women. If men feel like they need to be a leader, you can't tell me that they're not working to be somebody that their spouse looks at them and is not like, yo, he can do everything. He is everything. Not that he has to. Again, this is not that he has to. Again, just like Alex said, I check in with my husband too. You good? How's your mental? Could talk to him all day. Still gonna come home and ask him how work went. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not one that go out there and I help him with his business. He doesn't ask me for anything, but I know him, so I know what he needs from me. You get what I'm saying? So
I just think that women don't think about what. But yeah, you see what he's going through when you guys are together, or if he tells you, but you don't think about the other challenges that he's facing throughout the day. Like cishet Black men are literally performing every day.
What are you saying, Kenny? Sorry, I don't know what you're saying.
Look at things. It's one thing to complain about what's going on, and it's one thing to be open enough to talk about what's going on. You get what I'm saying?
Sorry, Mary. What you keep saying, sister? What are you saying, Kenny?
Cisgendered heterosexual Black men is what he's saying.
It's a scientific term.
Yeah.
It's a scientific
What
term.
does it mean?
Heterosexual Black men, basically.
Oh.
Cisgender straight men.
Straight men.
Yes.
I don't like to really say straight. But basically heterosexual men in the Black community, it takes a lot to be a heterosexual Black man. I mean, the pressures, besides, we're not even talking about adding the woman into play. We're talking about just walking out in society. We're talking about dealing with your homeboys that you're performing for, because niggas are performing for each other. You know what I'm saying? Then you go to your job, and then you go to the streets, and then you're going to the stores, and we're not even.
Why is it pressure for me to say that he is my superhero, but it's not pressure for somebody to look at me and say, "Oh, she's Superwoman" because of everything that she does? How many times is it reference a female being Superwoman because of everything?
And what has that done for Black women? What is that? Black women are mules. You guys are mules in the Black community because you have been labeled a strong Black woman.
Right.
Where does that lead you? It leads you.
Hey, time out.
But guess what? It has gotten shit done.
But where does that lead you? You're overweight, you're fat, you're stressed out, you're by yourself. Where does that lead you? It's leading you.
None of
You're
those things.
angry, you're irate.
No, you're saying generally.
And generally, you're irate, you're angry, you're overstressed, you're fat. You like it is. Where does all of that superwoman shit lead you? It leads you to where we're at today, with a lot of women that are just damaged. And where does it leave Black men today? A lot of Black men are just damaged.
Yeah, same shit. Yeah.
Oh, well, do you think that we're looked at as super? Because I feel like if my kids think I'm the strongest person in the world,
right?
And I'm never ever gonna give that back. I'll move a car if I need to just to keep it up. You know what I'm saying? I'll put the bitch in neutral and roll it so they don't know no difference.
So here, can I throw a gem at you, real? A caveat for that, Camp? My kids believe the exact same thing about me. And each of them have seen me cry.
But what kid doesn't think that?
No. I just so the point was if your kids think you super and your wife thinks you super, I'll take that, and I'll push through to keep that to where they know they can lean on me for everything. I don't see a problem with
you
that.
Cry, your wife not gonna think you super anymore.
I think that's the point that like some of us are getting. Like if I'm emotional with my lady, if I'm crying in front of my kids, blah blah blah, that doesn't deem me any less super. I'm still gonna get shit done. A nigga got feelings. Fuck, you know what I'm saying?
It's like that. I think where everybody's going for the most part is like extreme shit though. Like, no, I think it's like if we're having a real conversation, no one's saying, yo, your mother died and you cried, yo, fuck out of here. I don't want you no more. Like nobody's saying.
I think that's the way we're interpreting it though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's levels of suffering, quote unquote.
Right.
Yeah, that's suffering. That's wild. Yeah.
So
So that's not what I'm picking up from what's being said about the masculinity and the strength. But if that's what y'all getting, I think somebody needed to like, pump the brakes. Let's talk about this, because I don't want the audience getting lost to no nonsense like that.
So Mary,
I think that's what's being
So
said.
Chief, before you jump, so here's what we're gonna do. Chief, then Asia. So yes, so the point that was made about crying is about physical getting hurt, breaking something.
Okay.
But in terms of emotional, I mean, I respect it. You know. So go ahead, Chief, and then Asia.
I was gonna ask Asia a question, but I want to piggyback on that. So my 8-year-old son, he falls and hurts and scrapes his knee and he starts crying, I'm not gonna berate him to stop crying. I'm gonna request that he toughens up and help us, and we're gonna communicate as to why he's crying.
Yeah.
And then, like we talked about, once you reach that certain level, most men ain't crying because of physical pain too tough anymore. You know what I'm saying? But I gotta let him experience that. But I've been trying to work with my kids on just processing through those emotions and being able to communicate this shit, so he doesn't grow up being like, I was never taught that.
Yeah.
I was never, you know what I'm saying? But to in the very beginning of what I understood what Mary was saying in the long run, but just, I mean, you feel free to elaborate if you want to, but simple yes or no. Your dude is obviously a Superman. He holds it down. He does what he's supposed to do, and he's not really laying any emotional baggage on you too heavy. Hypothetically speaking, he comes home one day, the world is on his ass, and he's in your arms crying his fucking heart out. Does he lose any of his superpowers?
No, I've been in situations like that. No.
Okay, that's all I think that's what it sounded like in the beginning. Like you are his safe space. So when he comes home, he can still be Superman and cry to his Superwoman.
No, it's
you know
just
what I'm saying?
that extra, to me, you're my superhero. It allows me to, follow your lead better. You know what I mean? Trust your judgment more. But it's not saying that you can't just be vulnerable.
No doubt. All right. That's why I stuck.
Go ahead, Asia.
I'll be very honest with you. I believe that we have beat this subject to death, and I don't have anything else to say about it. I really don't. Like I tried to talk earlier. I tried to talk earlier, and I tried to make a point earlier, and I couldn't. So honestly, we've talked about it for 45 minutes. There's nothing else that I need to say about this particular topic. To be very honest with you,
I
thought you said
can
you had.
Can I say?
Corn,
Can I say something real quick?
Hold on. Wait, Corn. Asia, I thought you said you had something you wanted to add.
No, what I said in the comments was I want at some point, I wish I can give my full point fully, like others have and do get. That's all I was saying. Not on this point, but period. I have literally sat in silence and watched people do dissertation.
Are you complaining? Like, what are you?
I'm not complaining.
You don't got nothing to say.
I already told you I didn't. I said let Corn talk.
Come on, Corn, what you got? Let's see what Corn got to say, man.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, I was just gonna say I was listening in the backstage a little bit, but I love what Alex said. It was something that she was talking about her asking her man, if like she sees that he's struggling or he's doing too much, whatever. She actually asks him, "Are you doing all right?" And not mean put so much more extra on your plate. Like I think women can definitely. You need to teach a class. Women can definitely learn from that. You know what I'm saying? Because actually, I'll be honest with you. Like even for me, right? Like there's times where, my lady, she's getting better with it now. But in the beginning, she really wasn't asking how I was doing, or it was just more so like, okay, me, and it had like this selfishness where it was just like, okay, it's all about me. And she said she's been like that in other relationships. But I said, I'm not like that. You gotta it's gotta be equal out here. You know what I'm saying? You gotta at least, if I'm asking you how you doing, ask me how I'm doing as well. You know what I mean? And so we had to work on that because, I learned that I was like, okay, I'm encouraging you. I'm actually praying for you, like verbally. I'm not saying, I prayed for you. And you ain't actually hear me praying for you. I actually pray for you right there on the phone. I said, I want that same thing. So it's one of those things where, and I don't know if it's like a little bit of like equally yoke or whatever there, but you definitely as men, we definitely go through a lot. And like I said, women, y'all go through a lot too, but I think because of us being stronger or the lead, I think sometimes it can become all about the woman, where we're like, okay, well, let me take a step back. Let me put my focus on her because she's suffering. And it's so funny. I actually posted a picture on my page where it shows a black woman holding a black man's hand, and it shows all of these knives on the black man's back, but he's consoling the black woman who has like one knife in her back. But because she's more trying to use my words right, because she's more louder about, you know what I'm saying, it's like I gotta put the focus on her, you know what I mean, because she's yelling, she's crying, whatever. I gotta put the focus on her. And then we suffering the whole time. We suffering maybe worse, but we can't focus on our joint because, I mean, you just got to put our focus on her. So I would say that's definitely key. And I hope a lot of women will, hear that. That is definitely key to definitely be equally, be there for the man, just like he tried to be there for you. Because
So can I
it's tough out here.
Can I just ask a question? And I feel like I'm hearing you guys correctly when you're saying you want to be asked. Is that what you're saying? You want to be asked? You don't want to.
I would. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm really high. I don't know. Is it linked to emotional intelligence for a man to communicate those things that he needs as opposed to waiting to be asked? Like, for example, like if you worked a long day and you're really tired and you got to go to bed early, like your own body, right? Did you just be like, I'm going to bed early because I'm tired as fuck? Or does she have to say, you need to go to bed early because you're tired? Like, is there a delegation?
It's emotional intelligence, right? So and actually it's so funny. I just saw a video on this as well. This man was basically talking about and I agree with him. It's basically like, okay, we can express certain things to you, but for whatever reason, you may take it the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like we may say, whoop, 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 like I feel this way about what you're doing. Like you're doing this, and I feel a certain way about that. And y'all take it like, well, you do this or you do that. Like it's like, wait a minute, I'm this is about you right now. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to get about you, but it will get flipped with it's like on us. Now we can't even deal with what I just said about you. And so it problem doesn't get solved. So that's where emotional intelligence comes in at, where you have to okay, let me take in what he's actually saying. Let me actually see how I can develop from that.
Can I add to that?
The man's part, is it like his responsibility to communicate that because he knows, he knows, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to being like, now I feel like I'm suffering because she's not asking me.
So can I add to that though? I think to answer your question, I agree with Corn that it is a lot with EQ, but I also think it's about the safe space you provide. A lot of us may not feel comfortable exposing this vulnerability because it's often thrown back in our face. Oh, you want to act all tough right now? But you was in my arms crying last week or some shit like that, and we don't, you know what I'm saying? We're not saying nothing no more because you have now exposed that we can't trust you with our vulnerability, so we won't say anything anymore. Yep. So even when you ask, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So to my example, you wouldn't tell her you need to go to bed because your body's tired.
So I would have the emotional, the EQ to be able to do so, but it would all be dependent upon how much she allows me to feel trusted and safe.
Yeah. I wouldn't tell you I was tired. I would look powerful in front of you.
Say that again.
Nah, I don't think that's being vulnerable. Like, if you tired, right? Like, right. It's like, levels to this stuff too, right? So it's like, nigga, if I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. But to what Chief was saying though,
that's not true though.
What's not true? Yeah, if you're tired, you're not going to sleep.
You have things that you have to take care of, right? Or if your wife needs assistance, you're not just going to sleep. But if your wife says, babe, I know you're tired, I appreciate all the working you've been doing, go ahead and go to bed, that sleep is a lot better.
I mean, everybody wants to be acknowledged. You know, everybody wants to be acknowledged, whether you're tired or not. So I don't.
More so, I think it's more so understood, Russ. We want to be acknowledged, but I think understood. You know what I'm saying? Like that makes a big difference. Shorty understands, like,
yeah,
my man needs his moment.
I can. Niggas is tired all the time. Sometimes you wake up.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Niggas is tired all the time.
Yeah, but what I mean by that is like when you know your body's exhausted. Like, granted, everybody if you grown and you working, you tired. Like that's a given. But when you know your body's exhausted, obviously she's seeing you, knowing the difference of when you look tired versus exhausted. Is that not a healthy relationship that she has to give you the authority to go to sleep if you're telling her, I'm exhausted today, I need to go to bed early?
I think though sometimes people don't realize that they've gotten to that point of exhaustion because we can't see how other people see us, right? And I think maybe you said it too, I'm not sure, but about, is it their responsibility if you ask them to say what's going on? I think sometimes people are so not used to being asked, male or female, that when someone asks them, to give them a safe answer, right? Oh, I'm okay. I'm fine. There are so many times, like for me, when I'm really mad, like I didn't know that when I'm in my feelings, my answers become very, very short. So when I say I'm fine, he'll be like, no, really. And then I said I'm fine. My answers are very, 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 very short. With him, like just the other day, he was like, I could tell he was in a mood. I'm like, you sure you're okay? I said, okay. And then later on, he was just like, actually, you're right. I was just like, okay.
But that was part of what I was speaking to on the emotional intelligence side, is the self-awareness. Like so you would know yourself, you be aware of yourself enough.
But I didn't know that I was like that until two people told me. They said, Alex, I could tell something's wrong. And for me, I'm like, is my face giving it away? Because my face reads everything. They were like, actually, you do X, Y, and Z, and I can tell you that you're mad. You become very.
Can I ask a question, yo, real quick? I was just thinking about this. So we talked about having an EQ, but we also talked about safe space. Ladies, did you feel a difference in the dynamic of the vulnerability in the conversation when you guys joined it? Did the dynamic shift a little bit?
Oh, for sure.
Prime example, fellas felt safer in a room full of dudes than when you guys pulled up.
Yes.
No disrespect, but the safety of the space changed when a woman entered it.
Oh no, you're right. 1,000%. Yeah. Because we questioned it and we combated what you were saying, and we were giving on our perspective and our take on it. I completely agree with you. I liked it better. As much as I wanted to talk, I liked it better when it was y'all chatting, because it was good to hear perspective.
Yeah, I think what Corn said is like he just kind of gave the example, like that space isn't created, so the complaining is still happening. Like I know, I mean, just flat out in my house, I got home at 4 a.m. and was up at 6:30 with the kids, because I know it's a lot of goddamn kids. And I know when we get in that next argument, well, you slept till 8, and it only be 8. It ain't like I be sleep all day, but it just like I'm like, nah, like you know what I'm saying. I'm not gonna take that time. But if she says go to bed, boom, now I can go to bed. That's me being vulnerable, not being up, not helping, but she okayed it, and it makes me feel better about it. So.
And you feel acknowledged too. You feel seen, you feel understood. And I think that it shouldn't be like a one-way thing, you know what I'm saying? And I think that women are so used to, you hold the door for them, you open up the door, you do this, you do that, you do this. And I even see it driving in New York, like just because you're a woman, you think that you should just get in front of me in traffic. No. Girl, you're a driver, motherfucker. I'm a driver too. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, no, like it should. What?
Ken, do you think men love harder than women?
In a different way. I do think that men love differently from women. Harder, I think it's in a different way because men
they got a gun. They got a gun in your head. They want an answer.
Men get different benefits from being with women than women get benefits from being with men. So the love is different because some of it is based off of benefits. As long as your meals are cooked, as long as you're getting sex, as long as these things are in place. You know what I'm saying? Because love is unconditional. I don't care what niggas say. Love is unconditional. There are conditions to love.
You sound
and people want to make love is very much so conditional, and people make it so beautiful, Cinderella. Like, oh, love is unconditional. No, love has motherfucking conditions. Okay. And that's just what that is. So there is a difference in between men love women harder. I can't necessarily agree with that. I just think harder and possessive, because we see a lot of men, especially there's an uptick in men when women want to leave y'all asses, y'all are killing them. We just saw a nigga drive his dump truck into the woman's house because she wanted a divorce. Literally a dump truck into the house because she ain't answer the phone, nigga.
Let me add.
It's possessive. It's very
That's
much
not love, though. But that wasn't love.
And you gotta switch your Google searches. You googling the wrong stuff. You gotta Google something positive, brother.
No, it's not about Google searches. I don't Google these things. These things are in your face.
It's your algorithm. You be watching
No.
fight compilations and shit like that.
Oh my god!
No, I saw that story too, though. I saw it.
That was on the news.
But that's not. But that wasn't love. I wouldn't call that loving. He loved her so hard that he got so mad he drove his truck into her house.
No, but I'm saying there's possession. When men love, it's mixed with possession and mixed in with the love. No. I disagree with that because you don't have to be toxic to be possessive.
But no, the definition of toxic masculinity includes control by way of violence.
Okay.
By definition.
I agree. Yes, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, but I think, I think when you're in a marriage, I think you have possession over your wife, over your husband. For sure. But Asia,
nothing is yours.
Hit that.
Huh?
Nothing is yours. Nothing is yours. Your children aren't yours. Your house isn't yours. Your car is not yours. Your soul is not even yours. Nothing. You own nothing.
You're going down your ideology, but if you
you own nothing.
That's an ideology a little bit, but in terms of my kids and my wife, I own them.
You don't though. The state can take your kids. The moment you do something wrong, the state can take your kids. The moment you fall back on your taxes for your house, the state can take your house. You don't own nothing. You literally own nothing.
You threw a lot of ifs out there, Ken. You threw a lot of ifs. It's mine until an if pop up. So we're gonna throw out them ifs.
Your house is not even if you're buying your house, you don't even own because the bank owns the house. Like,
well, I wanted
now that the house is paid off, Ken. But go ahead.
I wanted to, can we keep Ken, we don't own shit. All right, Asia, what do you think? Do men love harder than women?
They believe they do, and I'll say that because it takes a lot for a man to love a woman. In how we think of love, because they have to put so many walls have to get broken down, and you have to go through obstacle courses to get to that love from a man, and so it's like we have to earn it. And so when I finally I'm talking from a man perspective, I finally given you my love, it can be very all encompassing. It could be very overwhelming. On both ends. And so when something happens, men do take it harder. Men take it a lot harder than women do when something happens after they declared their love internally to themselves and to you. And so, yes, I'll say harder. And I'm using the same words you're using, but I wouldn't say harder. But they definitely love differently. And I'll use your word harder than women do.
Okay. I think it's a good word. Any final thoughts on this topic, man? I think the key for this last thing that got uncovered, I think Corn started to uncover, I think Chief maybe had said it earlier, is that I think Q maybe was pushing back against the point, but I think we do need our women to provide those spaces, to provide that comfort. Because we don't need much.
I agree with you on that.
A genuine ass can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Q. Go ahead. My fault. Go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, this is not speaking in absolutes with anything. But where it might have sounded like I was pushing back is that self-awareness part and how much you end up putting on somebody else. I think sometimes when we speak in those terms, it goes back to that same narrative of okay, now I'm going to expect you to ask. Now I'm going to expect that. And when it doesn't happen, based off that expectancy, it puts me in a vulnerable place to feel a certain way, which then can lead to certain thoughts, which then can lead to depression, which then can lead to suicide, which then can lead to all these other emotional traits that men typically don't have. So I think that that's what I was trying to get at, is like, if you are more self-aware, there shouldn't be that need. Now, if your woman is obviously asking and asking on occasion, yeah, I'm not speaking against any of that. Just like I'm not speaking against you helping her out, or you being able to, or her helping you out, or you being able to cry around her. I think all those things are normal. But I think when it becomes a bit much, that's when it's like, to me, that's outside of the normal character of the male species. And that's wouldn't be the lens that I would raise my son under, to be codependent in any way. Because it lends to codependency in my eyes.
Interesting. Damn, that was an interesting point. That probably got to do another 30 minutes. Man, listen, like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. This has been awesome. I've definitely learned a lot, gained a lot, I think. Even Adrian said a lot. I ain't agree with a lot of that shit. It sound like you got a website or something you trying to sell? What the fuck you therapy?
Nah, you know what, I started to, but I was like, nah, man.
Do it, bro. Do it.
Nah, I mean, I'm starting something, but I'm not about to just have, like, I got to move at a certain pace right now. So I'm not in the place to take on anybody else, but it's coming. You know what I mean? It's coming.
Indeed. Well, listen, man. I don't really like Jerry Springer, but I do like one of his constructs. T, final thought.
Yo, my final thought is, first and foremost, brothers, it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to talk to someone, no matter how tough bravado that we have to be or should be. It's okay to find a safe space, and therapy is good for the soul. So if you can't find help, please find it somewhere. I'm out.
Word. Corn. You on mute.
Bruh. I'm over just talking. I ain't gonna go through that fast as I start talking. Now I would say my final thoughts is more so like, I would say, like I said, my final thing that I had said, previously, is to the women, like, like you said, creating a safe space for us as men. You know what I'm saying? We say we don't take much, just asking us how we doing, how was our day, and possibly even taking the step forward, and if you have the capability, being able to pray for us, like actually verbally praying for us, and it just gives that support system to let you know, okay, it's not all about me, it's about us. So that'll be my final thought.
Word. Sad.
Society currently is coming up with all these different buzzwords and topics to try to create division amongst us as far as our men and our women, especially in our culture. I just think a bunch of it is a lot of BS. So I don't subscribe to any of it. At the end of the day, there are gender roles in everyone's house for the most part. So just stick to what you know.
Word. Ken?
Oh, the baby. Yeah. So no matter what you think, I believe that we all have battles that we are facing. And as I said earlier, it is for you to do the work. Typically, these battles come from childhood traumas and wounds and things. And no matter how well you think you're concealing it, it's coming out in various ways. So do the work.
Word. Russ?
My final thought would be suffering in silence is a thing. It doesn't have to be a thing. If you feel like you go through your life best dealing it with your own, do what's best for you. But there are safe spaces out there. You can curate a safe space. You can find somewhere to be vulnerable, and there's nothing wrong with that. Worst case scenario, talk to your barber. You know what I'm saying? He ain't doing nothing for the next 20 minutes. You can always open up just about it. So just find whoever that is for you, and use it, man. Use it. Yeah, that's it.
Word. Asia.
Find your safe space, find your tribe. No one should suffer in silence, and please do not suffer. And I think we've already defined what suffering means. Not everyday ordinary challenges, but truly suffering should not have to occur for you to feel you need to exist and be strong. So find your tribe, find your safe space, and allow yourself to heal and work through those suffering places you're in.
Or Mr. White.
Toxic masculinity does not exist.
Yes.
Nothing about masculinity is toxic. All right. So for all the men out there, be strong, be decisive, be assertive. There's nothing wrong with none of that. In terms of men suffering in silence, find you a safe space. That don't mean you need to be talking to everybody, because everybody not equipped to handle it, but you do need to find somebody to talk to. Women, something that can help you cultivate that space. When a man is bringing an issue to you, that's not the time for you to bring up an issue you have with him. Just listen. Just listen, respond. You can ask questions to make sure you got clarification, but then that's it. Wait till tomorrow to talk about something that you have an issue with. But that will allow him to know, okay, I can say something and she actually will listen to me. So that's something that you can actually do to help cultivate that space for us.
Word. Q.
Shout out to Adrian, man. I don't usually agree with that nigga. I agree with that nigga. Yo, it might be the shirt. Maybe the shirt got some influence. Shout out to the shirt, man. Buying my shirt too. I appreciate the support.
Oh, I want to buy.
Yo, Kenny, I got you. Say less. So all I want to say is toxic masculinity is femininity. It doesn't, it's not even real. There's no such fucking thing as toxic masculinity. Ain't shit masculine about toxic masculinity. That's femininity. All the shit associated with that is feminine traits. Also, if you feel like killing yourself today for any reason, don't. Your life has purpose. Fuck whoever's saying whatever. That's just probably the realest shit that anybody could ever tell you. And also, live and walk in your motherfucking truth. That's another reason people be wanting to feel they trying to people please. You will learn very quickly that shit will not get you far in this life. You can never please people.
That's it right there.
Chief.
Oh shit. Solid takes from everybody. For the fellas, I'd say just we need to be more kind to each other, man. Ask your homie how he's doing, and then ask him how he's feeling, and then ask him again, because he's gonna tell you some bullshit the first time. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's important to get into how we feeling more often than not. You know what I'm saying? And I'm good or can't be our responses. For the ladies, I think if you are going to cultivate that safe space for your man, keep the space safe, and let's not throw it back in his face.
Man, this panel was wonderful. Everybody did an amazing job. I think the traits of yesteryear, I think we need to hold those as a principle. I think everything needs to be tailored and tapered based on the situation. But men, be tough, be brave, be strong, provide, protect, do all those things that you're expected to do. Have principles and guidelines. Don't let everything be too fluid, right? Because then there's no accountability there. But it's real out here, you know what I mean? And it's hard out here. I like what Mary said about Superman. I'm going to do my best. And then I'm going to find other Supermen to confide in, because they'll be able to be not only empathetic, but sympathetic into what I'm going through, right? Because they're striving for the same things. But To be in silence with every subject, I think is going to lead you down a poor path. But some things you may need to sit down, right, and handle on your own. So I learned a lot today. I appreciate y'all. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and we out.